hello? Hello, hello? I believe I've missed the raid. I just started, but thanks for popping by. Anyways, how was your stream, Curiosity? I don't usually come back this early, but I was passing by. I usually give the stream about 5 minutes to start up. Usually because I've noticed sometimes that my connection will become a little unstable once I start streaming. I don't know why. I have a theory it's my ISP like throttling my connection. Cause like he's like uploading at a truly prodigious rate. Let's screw him for no reason at all. Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. I guess like my internet is included in my HOA dues, which is fine. Is fine. But yeah. I guess I'll just start like this, I suppose. Which is, hold on. I'm lost in the sauce. Where am I? Which screen am I on again? This one. Boom. He's done it. All right. Let's do this really quickly. So I'm actually lying in my stream title really quick because I was setting this up. I let it build, and then it failed. Because I was going to redeploy this really quickly before I got started doing some Godot stuff. All right, let's do this really quick. So this is horrible. Just ignore this for the most part. It's really ugly. Syntax. Yeah. So this needs to be channel live. Syntax literal. Actually, these aren't even used. So can't you just do this? Like we're ignoring the pattern. We don't care what's inside of the struct. All we care is that the struct exists. And it's a struct, but it's a variant struct because it exists on an enum. All right, good enough. 23 warnings. I'll fix those later. All right. It's probably fine though. Let's send it. So git status, git commit. Update Twitch channel live message to include channel name and title, stream title. Like that, really quickly. This might just explode and I might have to roll back to a previous commit, ps aux grep. Bots, we'll kill the bots. Sig term. Go to dev. Sometimes you win bot. We'll pull it. And then I do have to build it locally like so. Build. So env.sh is not usually the command that most people would use, but I am compiling in all of my credentials into the bot. So it's kind of what I have to do. And bot release, yeah. So build it release mode, and then, okay, so this is still sending on the debug channel as well. But I think that should be fine. Probably, maybe, I have no idea. I haven't really tested it. I've been too busy like thinking about how am I going to extract this so it's not just ultra deeply nested and horrible to look at. Target, release, bot. Oh, no, just send it. Bot ready. Look at that. And then it may or may not actually send. And then I'll need to figure it out. Oh, hello, knock. Hello, hello, long time no see. How are you? And I also see that my this stream notification, I still need to update this at some point. No duck, but we can duckify you for free. Enjoy it. Wait, how are you? I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. I think this week is going to be a free week for me, though, since everyone is out at a conference. But they gave every single associate like the option to opt out. Oh, and thank you very much for the subscription, by the way. Yeah. For some reason, I thought it was a follow, and I was like, you know what? Makes sense to me. Thank you very much, though. Yeah, so I opted out because I've already been to the conference twice, and it's kind of a waste of time for me. And I also find it really stressful to go to, because it's like, yeah, you get like 4 hours of like open bar, but then you have to sit through 8 hours of like, here's what we're doing in the next release of Kubernetes. I'm like, I don't really care. I don't. Every release of Kubernetes makes it even harder to work with. That's what I've gathered. Anyways, I rewrote my bot in Rust. This is gross. And this is really gross. Just read the... Yeah. But you see, you don't understand. Release notes don't have any pathos. You can't feel the feelings of the developer through the release notes. Imagine the hype when we're told that we can no longer use image content source policy resources. Now we're moving over to, I don't know, some other BS with an equally long name. Would you believe that, though? Like, I don't believe, like, because I do a lot of Kubernetes stuff, and I have to just constantly type out image content source policy. Is there a shorthand? I couldn't find a shorthand, but anyways, that sucks, and that's the main thing that's annoying me at my job. Anyways, it looks like my bot is not working, which is unfortunate. Did it break or no? Or did it send the message too early? Oh, you know what? It might be sending the message too early now that I'm thinking about it. But that means it should poll again in like 2 minutes. So I don't know. Maybe. I'll think about it. Anyways, let me exit from there. Anyways, that's enough of that. I swear I'm refactoring it. So you're full into Rust now, are you? Oh, absolutely not. This is not what I'm working on. Let's close this. I will do everything in my power to not be associated as being full on into Rust, or even as a competent developer. What I'm actually doing, can we come to the dark side? See, I would, but like Rust, it's so verbose. It's so verbose. And then for some reason, for a bunch of other people's projects, it's also like very complicated in my opinion. Like the Discord stuff, I get it. You know, Discord, that makes sense. So like I'm just gonna talk through this stuff really quickly, right? So that's what macros are. Yeah, but like there's a bunch of other things that are extremely verbose. Like this is nice. This is amazing. I love this, right? So for Discord application commands, this is sick, right? So you register all your commands. I just put them in a different file because I'm a weirdo. And then you just kind of pass it to your, event handler, right? That's sick. I love it. Everything here makes sense to me. But then you get to places like this, right? Like the Twitch stuff. And it's like, why do I need to do all of this? Yeah, exactly. The macros are fine, right? unless you're asking me to write my own procedural macros, in which case that's not fine. Like procedural macros still kind of scare me. I think are they called inline macros? What are the macro rules macros called? You know, like macro rules, like do thing, right? Like I feel pretty comfortable writing these now. He says as he forgets the syntax for it, but isn't it like you do like hello and then you ident and then you do like hello is just like the variable identifier. Ident is the identity, so it should be something. I need to look up the syntax again or look at someone else's really quick. Yeah, I get like the right. You can do like the is it like this, and then you do, and then it repeats 0 or more times delimited by a comma, and then you can do, you know, like hello something, right? Like I might abuse those a bit too much. But things like this, like it's just all the setup, you know, all the pageantry. Like why can't I just have like a normal pattern? Like what the heck is all of this? Like I have a connector, I have an IRC client, but I don't really need to have the client unless I want to. No, actually, I don't even need to have the client at all except to just hang out. Why can't you just give me a struct that holds everything? But maybe that's just me being stuck in OOP land, right? It's like all of these things could just be self-contained, in my opinion. Twitch's API sucks. Well, no, because I've done it before. Twitch's API is not too bad, right? Like I wrote a thing for Twitch here. This is connected to Twitch, and this is done in GDScript, right? You just slap everything together, and then all you need to do is have the event handler. Whereas here, I need to do, you know, the create API. The create API almost, yeah. The create APIs don't make any sense to me. Like they're too complicated for what they are. So I was strongly considering like maybe I should just roll my own Twitch library with blackjack and hookers, but I decided against it. I should really try to learn how to stop rolling my own libraries. Just wrap the thing. Yeah, that's what I'll eventually need to do, right? But then you start running into weird ownership stuff, right? So the Helix API stuff ran into just an absolutely bonkers lifetime issue, where it was like the client doesn't live long enough, and I'm like, no, I'm an adult. I know it lives long enough. But it turns out you need to get like the inner. Isn't there's like a clients, and then you can get get clients, and that's what you needed to do. So the client's not actually the client. You need to get the client's clients. It's like, what's the difference? Joining the best time of blackjack and hookers, yeah. Well, we can have blackjack. You know, blackjack was the. Oh yeah, I've written a blackjack implementation once for school. It was the best one in my class, which is the only reason why I got, or one of the reasons why top of my class in business programming. So maybe I shouldn't brag so much. The hooker part I'm not as experienced with. I've never solicited any worker of the sexual variety for favors in case you're a cop. Or even if you're not a cop, I've never done that either. I outcoded a bunch of non-coders. Exactly. Exactly. I'm the biggest fish in the small pond, and I'm proud of it. Anyways, that's enough. Did my bot send a message yet? By the way, it should, or actually, you won't be able to see it. Oh, it didn't. How sad. My bot is online though. Web hookers. Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, I've never really thought about it like that, but yeah, that makes sense. A web hooker. But yeah, this is what I'm actually working on, unless that's not what my stream title says. In which case, I apologize. I totally lied. But in Godot 4, they took out the visual programming language, which makes sense because visual programming sucks. But here's the idea, because I saw that there's still like a weird amount of I guess, people asking for it, which is wild to me, right? Because unless you're doing like Unreal 4 or I guess Unreal 5, Unreal blueprints in general, right? Because those are very fancy. They do some stuff. Lots of meta programming, or maybe not meta programming, but lots of macros, etc. Whereas Godot's, I believe Godot's is just run through like a VM, which gets translated into the Godot VM bytecode, which then gets executed, so it's going to be slower. Webhooks. We'll call any server out there, you just need to subscribe. OnlyFans. I mean, that's how I go to sleep. Only with a fan. Like a ceiling fan. Wait, hold on. Let me walk that statement back. I did not mean it. Anyways, here is this. So the idea is it maps back pretty much one-to-one with GDScript. So instead of, compiling this, or I guess parsing it into its own bytecode and then trying to feed it into the GDScript VM, what I'll do instead is I'll take this and then just compile it back to GDScript, and then you can just run GDScript normally. Bro, I don't know. I thought it'd be interesting. I think that's kind of my impetus for a lot of things. Is, oh, okay. We could do it like this. Like, this seems neat. Right? And then, of course, but it's actually supposed to be run from here, so it looks nicer. Right? So you get this stuff, blah. You can add a param, add a return value, and then you connect it to stuff if you need to. That's a good enough reason. How hard was it? I don't know, actually. I've just got the UI going. I have an idea. That's pretty much it. Oh, and then also, another thing, because I am on the Godot Discord. I like to read people's questions and then think about them. Let me see. Visual script, yeah. You compile something, do you interpret the graph? I think it's pretty easy. I mean, in terms of what I'm thinking, right? So functions, I actually need to take these out. This is not how this would work, right? But it's basically just like GDScript, right? So, which is just like Python. So you define functions, these just kind of float, but then you do your actual like implementation, I guess, right? So you do some sort of function, give it a name. I don't have a name field, but I'll need to add it to this button here. And I'm still thinking about where I'm going to put this button. I'm probably going to put it at the bottom because these controls are in the way. But yeah, so you param, and then you write out the block of your logic using another button. So you click another button, brings you to another block here, and then you can start doing like if, and then that'll be a branching thing, and you need to have end if. So you know how to delimit things and how to delimit logic. Param should be on the left. Well, I mean, you can think of this like the, it's like the function definition, right? So func, my func, param 0 returns some sort of variance, right? I think that's what this would translate into. Yeah. Params should be on the, yeah. So you put input params, but what I'm saying is like this is actually defining a function. Yeah, well, if you're doing actual visual programming, that's how you would do it. But what I'm actually doing is just making GDScript visual. You know what I'm saying? So if I want to compile back, it needs to compile back to GDScript. Function call. I'm still thinking about how I'm going to do function calls. I'm thinking what I'm going to, so this is like defining a function. What I'm thinking is I'll have a button that's like call func, and then you define the func, and then that will have the inputs, right? So I don't have enough buttons. I don't have enough buttons, so now I need, it's like this, right? So you have, busting out the paints again. Go on, go ahead, get your jokes out of the way. So you have some sort of func. You'll define, like, the name is, my func. I've messed this up. Name is my func, takes a param, I don't know, p0, and then return variance, right? Something like that. And then elsewhere, can't you? Oh, whatever. And then elsewhere, you would do, and then you would have other logic here, right? So, blah, so like if something, and then you would pipe in your parameter here. So if param, something like that, if param, and then you would branch off of 2 paths. And then you would need to have branching nodes, etc., etc. It's getting very complicated. And then in your actual function call, so usually in Godot, your function calls would be something like, you would do it through like underscore process, which is a built-in function call. So process, functions via subgraphs. I mean, this is technically a subgraph, right? Isn't this technically a subgraph where you have 2 conditions and then they need to link back up? So you're basically a finalizing if. It's actually more akin to Ruby in that regard, I guess, or Lua and if. Technically, but I mean visually, isn't this also visually though? Isn't this a subgraph and then these are all just other graphs? Or is subgraph something else? Does that mean something else? Oh, you know what? Going back to your very, very first question, how are you doing? I am recovered from COVID and from a fever, and then from a fever after COVID, so still recovering. But thanks for asking. I finally figured it out. I knew I had something to say. All right, so you would have call func, and then you would do, I don't know, some sort of parameter. So you could either pass a parameter or you just go straight into the call func, right? And then, my func, something like that. So, but I'm not too lazy to explain via text. You recovered? Yeah. That'd be pretty messed up if you said, like, I'm disappointed you recovered. I don't think there's too many people that would say that. So I appreciate you saying the obvious thing. Yeah, I think that it was probably the closest I've ever been to dying, though. Yeah. Some people don't recover. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, like there was a span of like 3 days, 4 days where I just could not go to sleep. Not because I had insomnia, that came afterwards. But like I was just like basically choking to death every night, so that was good. Definitely am not the same person I was before December. I can say that for sure. Yeah, that's currently where I'm at. In terms of health. Lung capacity about 50%. So running's been pretty rough. That's fine though. It happens, I guess. Testing negative repeatedly, had all the symptoms. Yeah. I think I tested twice. So the first time, like when I just had like a random fever, tested negative. And then about 2 weeks later, felt like I had COVID symptoms because I had COVID at the very start of this year as well. Like at the start of 2022. I was like, man, it feels like I have COVID again for real. For real, no cap. And what do you know? Had COVID after that. Oh, hello, Bumdy. Hello, hello. Have a lot of oldies coming out of the woodwork for some reason. You missed me fiddling with my bot. Oh, that reminds me, I keep forgetting I need to set up proper logging because I'm not sure where it's actually logging to. So it has logging set up, but it's not logging to a file as far as I understand. Or maybe it is logging to a file. Where do you think env logger and Rust logs to? But yeah, it was COVID. It was really bad as well. There's Let's Encrypt. I'm pretty sure I don't have my stuff here. Yeah. Almost certainly not. That's unfortunate. Alright, well, goodbye. Has no... Yeah, well, it's using env logger, right? That's how I'm getting these debug logs. So technically it has logging set up. I mean, in a literal sense, it does have logging set up, but in like a practical sense, I'm not sure where the logs are going, or if it's even writing to a file system. Yeah, you know, I just kind of do stuff, and stuff happens. As bad as me. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like... kind of my primary MO at all times is like, I kind of know what I'm doing, but you really shouldn't take too much faith in it. At least in the implementation. The idea is usually fairly sound. The actual implementation is a little suspect at times. But anyways, this is my favorite part about Godot 4. in editor documentation that automatically generates. For me, COVID doesn't sound scary unless it hits the lungs. Well, let me tell you, that's where it hit me. Like even now, like sometimes I have to like basically mute myself so I can clear my lungs. I lost pretty much all the muscle in my legs as well. But that might just be from me not being able to do any exercise for a month and a half. As logging set up, it was set to off. You know, that happens as well. That happens as well. Anyways, I need to think about this. Right, so visual scripting, but it's like scripting in the more literal sense. And what I'm thinking is, I mean, basically this, right? So you define functions, and then, you know, if statements, blah, blah. Or I guess like, or even just like var statements, set statements. And then you'll just use a different block called like call func if you want to call a function in a different function. Because in GD script, you don't just have raw standalone statements. Which actually I think makes it a bit easier to parse in terms of a visual scripting language. Are you using the built-in UI? I am, yes. So it just kind of goes into here. This is the startup screen, whatever. So you can always go back. It really only needs to be like this for now. And then you'll also have these buttons. So undo, not yet implemented, compile. So the idea is that this compiles back to GD script, so we don't lose any performance. And then we just have this stuff. So I think these are the easiest, right? So, oh no, yeah, so raw, I guess raw doesn't actually need to have these two. You can have comments, which aren't parsed at all. They're just here as a comment, right? And then you have func, which maps back to just defining a function in GD script. So I think that makes sense. And then because everything in GD script must be a function anyways, it should hopefully be fine. And I guess the kind of cool part here, I'm still thinking about how a good way of doing this, by the way, right? Because I found out how these work is that you get the lines based off of the vertical, or I guess just like the child position. So if you put like a button that says like add parameter, you don't get the correct slots set up. So instead, here's the workaround. I just listen for whatever thing you click on, and then I have like I guess an omni bar. So add param, variance. I don't really have any return value checking, so multiple return, not yet possible. There's no tuples. I guess I could just return an array, but that's not what you would probably expect. Anyways, you clear these out. This part was actually surprisingly complicated to get right as well. So being able to mess with the command type or the slot type dynamically. Because you can manually add and remove slots, but the slots don't auto clear themselves if there's not a valid item for it. That's kind of hard to explain. But basically it's this logic here, right? So there's remove slot, so you need to clear the slot that you just removed, and then you need to shift everything over by 1, but then you also need to clear that slot that it used to occupy. Yeah. Which is really tough because I didn't realize that's how it worked. Otherwise, the slot stays occupied, which is annoying. Yeah. Could also define data in there. I don't know how you would define data in there. So I also have this set up just to run as a standalone thing, just so it's easier to test. I don't know, how would you define data? And how would that map back to GD scripts? Right, because it's supposed to compile down to GD scripts. And I'm pretty sure I know how I want this to work. But how would you define just raw data? Would it just be like a raw data class? Like in Python, I guess? Let me see. I'm also going to flip around some of this stuff. Like, I think this stuff should not be here, I guess, because it kind of messes with the, I guess, the formatting, which is a bit weird. That's it for my break. See you next year. All right. Appreciate your weekly, or not weekly, your yearly check-in, Knock. I'll see you later. I'll still be around. I think I've been streaming for 2 years now, which is crazy. Not sure, possibly just using native types as a reference. I'm not sure, right? Because if there's only one way to get a native data class in Godot, well, I guess there's 2 ways, right? So you can either do it as like a dictionary, because dictionaries can hold any type. So like my data can just be a dictionary, and it holds whatever you want, which makes sense. Or you can have class, other data. And then that would just be like, D1, var, D2, etc. Ooh, it's crazy. Here's a going away gift. Unfortunately, you missed you missed Bum D, but you still got somebody. No, maybe one day you'll join and I'll actually be working on a game. I have a few ideas. I'm still working on them. I just can't make them fun. I can't make them fun. But if you want an idea of what I'm cooking up in the back burner, it's somewhat inspired by Backpack Hero. Well, they're not fun, which is why I haven't made any game. So there's Backpack Hero, inspired by this. I played this, it's fun. I recommend it, or at least I recommend the first character. And then there's, is it Lost in Time? Trapped in Time? Hold on. I don't want to show my Steam stuff, but you can see my Steams. There's Sable. Sable's a fun one. Stuck in Time. I played 80 hours of this. I recommend this game and Backpack Hero if you're interested. Stuck in Time, I haven't seen anything do it like that. So I'm working on something to maybe, hopefully, make it work. But thank you very much for sending out gift subs, Knock. Flexing on the other chatters. All right, get out of here. Get back to work. All right, later, Knock. All right. Yeah, maybe I can have data classes. I suppose. I suppose what I could do is, where is it? Oh, I'm just doing it like this. That's right. I think it probably makes more sense to not do these as just raw buttons. And actually, some of these don't even make sense as raw buttons, right? So like, you can't just have a standalone if, you can't have a standalone for, you can't have a standalone while. So actually, I'm gonna take these out. All right, say goodbye. But yeah, how have you been, Bumdy? Let me see. Yeah, just give me one of these. So you can define a var. You can define a constant as well. That makes sense to me. Pretty much everything that just maps back to the root level GD script stuff. Right. Some Godot 4 stuff as well. Yeah, I was going to be working on this vpupper because I got the newest release out, and I was working on porting it to Godot 4, but like the VRM library is just not, or the VRM library that I'm depending on is not updated for it yet. It's making it really tough. And there's not really a workaround either, because importing all the VRM stuff causes just a hard crash. Playing with stable diffusion? Oh no, AI. Godot 4 crashes for me every minute. Well, I mean, right now it's fairly stable. I haven't had a crash in a while, but that might be because I'm on, I don't know. When was the last time I built it? Whenever this was. I built it today. I think the XLL module doesn't like Qtile. Maybe if you're using a tiling window manager, I can understand that. Stable diffusion. Yeah, stable diffusion it's like the mid-journey, right? Mid-journey stuff, or the some who or whatnots. Yeah. Like there's too many AI things, man. I can't keep track of them, and that's how you know I'm getting old. There's too many of this new stuff. Why can't we just have good old-fashioned artists? Am I right? It's the open source Midjourney. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen a lot of Midjourney stuff because a lot of the artists I like to follow on Twitter, or maybe it's just the one guy. Mike Francesca Twitter. It might not be this guy. It's almost certainly not this guy. Hold on, I can find him. Hold on, I can find him. I haven't saved him in a Twitter list. I know I shouldn't be using Twitter, but unfortunately, Twitter is still chugging. Frenchina. Oh, am I allowed to show this on Twitch? Is nudity allowed on Twitch? is based because it's closed source and expensive? Yeah, but it's like real good though, right? Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to show this on Twitch. You can show this on Twitch. I mean, there's a bit of gore. Yeah, okay. Look at this. Oh no. Yeah, like look at that. So this guy likes Midjourney as well, and I was like, man, if someone who like can make this kind of sick art is into Midjourney, it can't be that bad, I guess. That's pretty cool though. And when pop-up windows happen, it tries to go back to focus to the main window, but since it's tiling window manager, that window is inaccessible because it's hidden by the window manager. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense to me. Oh, why did I go back? Some of these do have nudity. Yeah, if you haven't filed an issue, Bumdy, or if there's not a pre-existing issue, I don't know, because they're getting ready to start doing release candidates. So if it's not gonna get fixed now, it's not gonna get fixed ever. Hold on, there's some other cool stuff they've done, but for whatever reason, all the recent stuff isn't really their arts. Just like art inspiration. Where's all their other art? So I'm not just like a weirdo. Yeah, here's something that's not lewd or gore. That's pretty cool. Look at that. That's cool as well. I like the idea of like there's just like a normal guy and then there's like just a chonker guy. It's really good too, but you know, you're free to train on any way you want. I had a Kryta plugin for stable diffusion, but it broke again. How do you? Isn't it if you want to run those AI tools locally, you need to have like a pretty beefy box? Wait, hold on. Let me rephrase that. You need a pretty beefy computer. Maybe I'm the only one that thinks that's weird, but when I said beefy box, I was like a beef box. Oh wait, hold on. That's lewd. Is niche? What is niche? AI tools or tiling window managers? Fusion. Beefy computer. Beef. All right, so add func, add class, and I think these are pretty much all the things that you need, right? So add class pressed. Well, think about it. Yeah, your bug is very niche. It is very niche for sure. Just go back to Windows, or at least go back to a windowing. What is it called? Just a floating window manager. So like you have tiling window managers. Is this type of windowing? Is this just called like floating windows? I don't really know. Like I know pretty much all the mainstream ones use floating windows, but I don't remember what they're called. Oh yeah, they are called floating window. Yeah, toggling floating mode. Yeah, because i3 has floating mode. So you can either tile or you can make it float. I remember. I haven't used i3 in forever though. Then put low priorities on those. We want to confirm bugs. Yeah. Is tough. Qtile? What is Qtile the Python one? Qtile? Oh yeah, Qtile is the Python one. Yeah, see, I know things. I've seen this before. Yeah. I've looked into it. But as always, it's like I need to do stuff. I have stuff to do. No offense meant, but like I spend most of my time inside of a Windows VM. Not out of choice, by the way. Or not by choice. Alright. So function node. What other ones that I have? I feel like I need to write these down because I keep forgetting. So class var node extends flow node. Yeah, I don't know. Like I do kind of tile windows in that I have these things set up. So like quick flip sections. I don't really know what they call it. So I don't just full screen every single application. But that's also because I'm using a 4K monitor, so full screening every single application is a bit overkill. Alright, and I think I'm probably going to need to break some of these out. It's been forcing me into Windows Xeon just to use UniVRM. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's because Unity has a lot of like Windows dependencies, doesn't it? In order to do more of their, at least for more of their fancier graphical stuffs, right? So don't they have like a high definition, the HDRP, high definition render pipeline requires Windows? Or no? Is that fake news? Super inits. And then this needs to have, what are the other init things? It needs to have a slot, but no, actually we don't need to have a slot. Yeah, we just need the title and the group. Oh, that's right. So here are the groups. Comments. Let's actually switch these around. Vulkan supported? Maybe it's just a driver thing then? I have no idea. Anyways. I've really come around to the Lua way of doing dictionary construction, or I guess table construction. If only because like for the most of the dictionaries I create, they are string to string or string to something. So I guess there's not really a good reason to not do that if we're just doing simple dictionaries like this. Class node, and that's pretty much it. And then the rest of the nodes just kind of build off of each other, right? Linux builds, I don't think it's the most stable. Useless Linux builds. I do feel for them though. After now supporting quite a few vPupper, or I guess OpenCFace GD releases onto Linux, it is kind of a nightmare to deploy onto Linux. Right, because there's so many things that you need to remember to do that Windows just kind of handles for you. I think Mac has its own share of problems. Can't use UniVRM, HANA tool. VRChat SDA probably doesn't work either. Godot just works. Yeah, but I think Godot just works because it has like a dedicated set of people that are like, I love Godot and I use Linux, you know? So they're more willing to dive in and fix stuff. All right. By the way, I'm going to go refill my drink. I was BRB. Hello. Yeah, Godot doesn't need any dynamic libraries, which is pretty sick. It's all completely self-contained. I think it's because they just re-implement everything, so they don't even use like the system libraries. They just re-implement a bunch of stuff. So like a Godot string is not compatible with like the C standard library string. Like it can convert into a C string, but it's not a C string, and it's not a standard string either. Hub and wine, work, editor binaries and wine. Yeah, they do provide native Linux builds, but maybe they aren't compatible with Unity or Uni VRM. What are sulfites, by the way? I was reading a thing on this bottle, and it says contains sulfites. I feel like I see that a lot, but I never really think too much about it. Sulfites. What are sulfites? Excuse me. Oh, sulfites are just like a fermentation thing. Okay. What is UniVRM? UniVRM is the it's the VRM library that most people use to do stuff like this. I mean, this isn't using UniVRM. This is just manually rigged. But all of the like 3D anime models, those are generally run through UniVRM. Okay. Let's see. So we have all of these. Handle action. So this could have more action. So I actually need to split this out. Okay. Oh, good. Okay. So let's do this then. Okay, so let's do this. So flow node. Inherits graph node. Do those require native libraries? Probably. I don't think they do. Maybe, because all it's doing, right, is it's encoding like it's encoding 3D model data with additional VRM specific properties. Right, so in addition to like the standard GLTF required stuff, it also has like, oh, like here are the bone mappings for human stuff. GD flow node. Or I guess just GD flow node, and then that's going to hide. Oh no. No, that's right. So this is the representation. This is the intermediate representation that I was thinking about doing. Hold on. I could just call it a flow node, I suppose. Or I guess editor flow node. But yeah, UniVRM's tune shader is not that great. Yeah, it's not that great, but I think it has the best performance across most models, which is why people like it. Or I guess maybe the most consistent performance across all models. That's probably a better way to put it. Something like that. And then in Godot, they just try to emulate it, right? All right, just give me all of this. This stuff is pretty, not complicated, but it's, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of stuff. Now let's just post it here, and then I'll fix it later. Or after the fact. Yeah, so there's my init. It's gonna give me an error. Just paste it there. There's your slots, which corresponds to the actual slots on a graph node. So this will give you back an editor flow node. All of these will just give you back editor flow nodes. So I do need to also have slot type defined somewhere. Flow node. And then node item is also not. Okay, hold on. Just creating more and more garbage. Node item. This is a HBox container. Use regex for my project and a parser. Want to try your library, but I remember that's Godot 3. It's tough. It's tough. I guess which kind of project were you looking for? Because I think the verbal expression stuff, they have libraries for a few different languages. So like Java, Python, JavaScript, those are the biggest ones. Node item. So that's your editor node item, so that we'll take one of these instead. Editor node item. And then slot type will just grab all of this stuff. Yeah, because this is getting way too big. As it turns out, this is a bit more complicated than I thought it would be. All right, so this is fixed. Editor flow node. We'll grab all of this stuff as well. Or actually, probably node item can also just hang out here. Yeah, actually, it's fine if this hangs out here because it's not going to be used anywhere else, so it doesn't need to be in a different file. Let me see, delete item, node item. Get rid of the standalone node item. There's no reason for that to exist. Verbal expression, yeah. Just posted a YouTube short. YouTube shorts. All right. I don't know. YouTube shorts, TikTok, they're all kind of the same thing, in my opinion. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just I try not to watch them. Because they know how to get you. But yeah, went back to normal regex. Yeah, I think even at the time I was being told that like verbal expressions is bad for, I guess, your experience with regex, because you use verbal expressions, they'll never get better at regex, and you also don't really understand what you're doing, right? And you're also writing less than performance regex, and it's like, yeah, but like, you know, if you don't really care about regex, then whatever, right? Or if you only need to do it a few times, who cares, right? All right, so this is fine. This is fine. Okay, so yeah, GD flow node. GD flowed. All right, let's just get rid of this. Call this editor flow node. Oop. Where is it? Rename editor flow node. So visual scripting versus code argument. Yeah. You know what I was thinking though? What I was thinking is that this might no, all the files are still there, so nothing should break. What I was thinking though is that because of how this is kind of laid out, right? So all it does is it compiles back to GD scripts, which means if you can compile 2 GD scripts, you can compile one of these from GD scripts, right? I think that could also be kind of cool if it's bi-directional, right? So if you have just a bunch of GD script code and you want to see it visually, you could actually import it back into GD flow. And it's called GD flow because it's like a flow chart. Even though it's actually closer to a BPM diagram, I guess. Right? So, or flow chart, basically. Inception? Maybe. Well, it's not really Inception, right? But you can just go back and forth, right? Because this is an almost literal representation of GD script code, but visually, right? So this maps back 1 to 1 with a function that has two parameters called param0 and param1. And then you can add a return value, and then you'll, you know, do a thing with those params, maybe, you know? And then once I parse it all, then I start constructing the function name, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Yeah. Visual scripting, well, visual scripting is good for like shaders, right? Because shaders, you don't really need to, you're not doing too much complex logic. You're just combining things together, essentially. And there is some logic, I guess. Like if you're checking, like if color is whatever, then do a thing. Otherwise, you know, don't do anything at all. Which is basically how you would do like a palette swap in the modern day. GD flow, because love knows I'm bad at coding, and this is pretty much what Blender Armory SDK was supposed to be. Well, I'm still working on it. I'm still working on it, but hopefully I want to at least get the function stuff working, which is why I'm mostly like poking at the function stuff right now. And then I also need to do this. All right, so editor flow node. So we'll just put everything, this folder here. Oh, not a resource. Give me editor function node. So this inherits, I don't know, editor flow node. Yeah, once you get into tooling, I don't know. I feel like for the most part, visual scripting is just, is not done well. Because it doesn't map back to any actual code. So if you ever have the situation where, you know, you need to do something that's not supported by, it's not supported by the visual scripting language, then you're just kind of out of luck. Then you actually need to go all in on, you know, just regular programming. Which is tough, right? Whereas this, which maps back 1 to 1 with an actual programming language, I don't know, it could be cool, I guess. Could be cool. I think it makes a bit more sense and simultaneously not as much sense. Right? Because now you're not really, you're kind of abstracting stuff, so it's more visual, but it's, I don't know. I'm trying to word it in a way that makes sense. Like, to me, intuitively, this has like very obvious pluses and downsides, but it's also not really solving the, you know, I don't want to write code part, you know? What you're doing is more like macro. It's not really, isn't a macro? I think it's actually more strenuous to do this, but it's more visual at the very least. So if visualizing code is tough, then this is what you want, I think. All right, grab all of this. Which I get, you know, it can be hard to visualize, you know, what you want your code to do. Grab all of this stuff. So these are inner classes that are just representations of the actual slots in the visual programming language. So when you saw me add like params or a return value, that's what these are. And they should be fine, yeah. Should be good. You know, really good visual scripting. What? You know, a really, the sentence isn't parsing though, so now I actually need to read it. You know, a really good visual scripting I learned pretty well was the coding blocks in gdevelop. I've never done gdevelop, so there's no OS interactions, all sandbox and no code blocks otherwise. I've used Scratch before, and I was thinking maybe I could just make something like Scratch, or like the Lego Mindstorm, but I don't know. I feel like for Godot that Godot doesn't fit that paradigm very well. They turn this into a UML framework. Yeah, I guess it's basically a UML framework. Yeah, you know what? Yeah. Is this basically UML? Hold on, I'm looking up a UML thing. Yeah, you know what? It's actually pretty close to a UML diagram. It's pretty close to a UML diagram. Except like UML yeah, you know what? Yeah, there we go. That's essentially it, yeah. Except like this is more of a this does actual code gen, I guess. I don't know. Has someone already done this? Godot UML. How do you people use UML diagrams for planning their GD script, but no one's actually done code gen from UML. But this is not supposed to be UML anyway, so whatever. Okay. So this is the editor function thing. Editor flow nodes. We can just yeet this. This is fine. I think this is pretty solid. I'm glad I broke this out because this is a long function. And also kind of complicated. Especially all the editor slot stuff. That's tough. So editor flow node, yeah. Get rid of that. Editor, we still need that. Edit flow. Edit flow nodes, don't need that. Code gen, nope. Startup, nope. Editor. Okay, so edit flow. This is what we need. So editor function node. New like that. Okay, then add to workspace. So give me one sec. Keep that there. Add to workspace. We can view flow node. Okay, so now this just needs something that's an editor flow node. Tools to create templates. Those create directories, files, and boil. But yeah, but that's not really that's not really what I'm doing. I do know what you're talking about. Yeah, I think we've actually talked about this before. And I mentioned I don't like those. Right? But the idea that intrigued me for this was the ability for me to parse GD script back into this. Now that could be cool. It's very strange, but I think it could work. Yeah, we did. Yeah. Yeah. A long time ago. Alright, so there's your editor function node. Nothing else works, but that's fine. We can do one really quickly, so a comment node. Comment node, so this editor flow node. So a comment node, very simple. It's a comment. It's not even parsed. It's ignored during parsing. It cannot connect to anything either, which is the point. Yeah, there's actually no reason for there to be a... Well, you can still get the data from it. Yeah, let's just port all of it over. So editor, comment, all of this stuff. So it has some sort of text edit. So you can get the contents of the comment if you want, but there's not really a good reason to, right? Because it's a comment. But in the same way that some TOML parsers actually preserve comments when they finish parsing, I think it could be cool for me to preserve comments, even though I'll have no idea where a comment is supposed to apply. Maybe that's why I should use the connection point thing too. Like, oh, we can connect. You can connect it to a block, and if it's connected to a block, it just doesn't do anything. But that's how I know where to associate it. So you want to create in virtual space, then using the same GDScript instance. Now it's weird when you instantiate that script, the main script will own that. Not really. Well, the idea is that I compile it first, right? So I compile it to GDScript, and then your GDScript, then you can just attach it to whatever you want, or I can replace it with whatever you want, right? Like, for example, you might notice that this editor, like, it's able to run in the Godot editor, right? You might be asking yourself, how is that possible, right? These buttons shouldn't be working if they're not tool scripts. And that's because what I'm actually doing, I've explained this to you before for sure, is I'm just injecting the tool annotation into it, right? And so in the same way, you can hot reload any script you want in Godot, as long as it's a GD script. Any other script, I'm not sure if you can hot reload. Maybe you can hot reload C# as well, and just kind of force the JIT compiler to, I don't know, compile it really quickly. I don't know. I'm not familiar with how C# JIT works. Can you force the JIT compiler to recompile? Don't know. Oops. Last name editor comment node. So that's a comment node. So we'll just place this back here. Add to workspace. Add to comment node. All right, and then everything else just doesn't do anything. That's fine. So, but the rest of this should just work as expected, right? So func add param blah blah. You can take them out. Oh no. Okay, then you use it as a template macro manager as a visual scripting or as a compiler code. So I'm more confused. It's basically just a visual representation of GDScript code. It's basically just completely visual. Oh no, I'm off by 1. This happens sometimes, and I'm not sure why. But sometimes when I do this, it just gets. Don't say it. Don't get. I was gonna say it just gets off, but no, it loses track of the slot. I don't know why. That's fine. It's not really a macro manager. It's more of just visually planning your code or visually writing your code, which doesn't make any sense because, of course, I would say 99% of people out there who are writing code are writing it with their eyes. They're not doing stuff like I'm receiving a phone call. Give me 1 sec. I muted myself. I received a spam call from a number that was not in service anymore. I'm not sure how that works. I wonder if their like phone service just got cut while they were calling me. I don't know. But anyways, yeah. It's basically an extra visual way of programming or writing GD scripts. That's the idea. So editor function stuff. So this needs to have the, I guess, the other nodes as well. Yeah, so I think I am going to self-contain this one for better or worse. So class if node extends flow node, right? Or I guess editor flow node. So your if node, you basically have all your other nodes. So, oh man, functions are tough actually. No, I'm thinking about it. The hardest one to do are functions. Long time no see. I haven't been around. Wow. Sorry, I have been around in a while. It could to see you. Yeah, it's good to see you too. I think that's what you were trying to convey with that word salad. Yes. Hello, hello. How are you, the big Lee? Sorry, speech to text bad? No, I got you. I gotcha. Although I could have sworn, like, at least Google speech to text is generally pretty good. I guess unless you don't have an American accent, then I suppose it gets a lot worse. Like, I know my parents are not able to use speech to text, except for, I guess, transcribing Cantonese, I think. So if node, when node. Yeah, I'm using the phone. Well, yeah, but like, is it like Android or is it Apple? Or are you using like Bixby speech to text? Text. Sorry. If, when, for node. It's Android? Okay. Well, is it Android? So like there is different implementations of it as well, right? Because I know that like I have a Samsung phone and I had to actually switch it. I think I had to switch it. I remember I had to do some additional configuration on this phone when I got it. So it would use Google services instead of Samsung services. Right, because I don't want to use Bixby. What the heck is a Bixby? I don't want Bixby. All right, what other things do you do in functions? So the control characters that you have are if statements, when, for, match. You have match node extends editor flow node. I think mine is Google. Oh, no, you're not tanky smart. Well, I think that's actually very unlikely that you would have a Google phone and not know that you have a Google phone, because if you have a Google phone, I think you would have to buy that directly from Google. Most likely you probably have a Samsung, if I had to guess. Samsungs are the most popular brand of Android, or they're the most popular Android manufacturer. I think Google's up there, but I think the build quality and the battery life of the Google Pixel phones are pretty bad. Whereas Samsung Galaxy, those pretty good representation. Pretty good proportion of the market. And then I guess like there's also Motorola, but that's owned by Google. What are the other ones? The other ones that don't matter. There's Huawei, which is not allowed to use Android anymore. There's OnePlus, but that's also a Chinese phone that you probably should not be using. An async function? Oh yeah. Well, I think that async just needs to be a flag. So here's how I've been doing it, right? Is I have these things here. So action buttons. So you might have noticed here, right? So we new flow function, right? And we can also add comment because I implemented that. So comments don't do anything. This is a comment. For now, they just kind of hang out as a reminder of what you're doing. And then param return. So these are all defined here from get actions, right? And then get actions, of course, is defined, not here. I also need to re-implement raw. But I think that's raw nodes are pretty easy, I think. Editor. Yeah, editor flow node, yeah. So get data not yet implemented, get actions not yet implemented, handle action not yet implemented, right? So I can just make it async by just putting another button that makes it async, right? And then when we handle it, like actions, async, then we'll just add a flag to the get data. Did I not re-implement this for whatever reason? That's weird. I think the problem is I'm just speaking too fast sometimes. Yeah, that's very probable. I would not be surprised. But unless you're, you know, you're speaking as fast as a rapper. Well, and we should say, as if you're speaking as fast as like Eminem or something. Or who's another rapper who speaks, who raps quickly and also doesn't like mumble rap? Because modern rappers, they just, that's how they rap, right? It kind of sucks. Whereas, you know, Eminem, what's that other guy? There used to be another guy who was really known for rapping really fast, but like also using, but also being understandable. Tech9. That's what he was known for. So I think as long as you're not speaking that fast, it should be fine. And then after that, it's just like enunciation, right? Like I know that when I'm trying to ask my phone something, I'll actually enunciate more like like I usually do when I stream. I don't usually like slur when I stream because, you know, my accent is from the American South. So I kind of naturally just leave off most of the letters in a word, right? Because it's like, how do you say it? You know, Atalanta. Do you say Atalanta and you pronounce every single T? Because actually, in my normal speaking tone, I just say Atlanta. I don't say any of the T's. Atlanta. I'm from Atlanta. Atlanta. I'm from Atlanta. Hey y'all, how you doing? I got you a little something. Something like that. You just kind of like, it's almost like you're implying what you're saying, something like that. Hold on. God, all these streamers I'm watching on the side just keep stopping. What the heck? I need something to keep me entertained and or just like distracted. All right, make async. Make async. All right, so make async, and then I just need to handle it here. Actions. Make async. But yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. Right. I have this written down somewhere. Of all the reserve. Actually, no. You can just look at the GD script basics here, and then is latest still the same? Yeah. Okay. So elif. No, I got those. For while match break. Nope. Don't need those. Continue. Nope. Class. Have that handled. Extends. Nope. Don't need that. In. I might need that. Well, no, that's not a standalone keyword. Signal. But that's more of just like a general class thing. And also, that's not a function thing at all. You can have constants and functions now, but let's wait on that. Awaits. I think that is, yeah, that is a thing you need. Do you know the song Seagulls Stop It Now? I don't think I do. Who's it by? Seagulls Stop. Bad. Oh, it's a bad lip reading video. Okay. I've seen a few of them. Actually, when was that video made? I wasn't aware actually that they still made videos. Isn't bad lip reading is really old, aren't they? Like they started making videos in like the early 2010s. Didn't see this one? No. I don't watch all of them. I don't find them that funny. Like it's like, yeah, I get it. I used to do the same thing with my friends when we were really bored, but then it just makes you kind of feel bad because they're like, oh, like they can't help how they're making the shapes of their mouths, right? All right, make async, and I think one of these, I need the ability to inject a yield, or maybe just an await into anything. It's epic. Epic as some sort of meal time. Haha. Remember epic mealtime? That's crazy. The only reason why I even like kind of remembered it is one, it's an old YouTube channel, and two, I saw like a retrospective on epic mealtime and like why they split up. Right? And as always, it's like money, but two, it's just bad for you. It's just really bad for you. And it's tough to make like some sort of weird epic meal like weekly as well. It is a little disappointing that they no longer exist. Is async false. And then I do need to add a slot item for that. Async extends node item. Slot. And I think you always need to pass in the slot, because otherwise I don't know how to tell, you know, what the item is. Super init, and then var check button, because I need some way to be able to pull the data from it later. Check button. Check button. There are many replacement channels popped up after though. Yeah, but you can't really beat the original. Like which channel is out there? Or I guess which, it's not comedy channel. What's the term? Copycat channel, yeah. I knew it started with a C. Which copycat channel out there is better than the original, right? Like I think a lot of people have tried to, well, I don't watch Mr. Beast, so maybe maybe I shouldn't talk. But you know. It's tough. It's tough. I can't think in recent memory of a channel that copied another channel and was better than them, right? It's just nothing's coming to me. Button pressed is true. Get data. Turn check button button pressed like that. I suppose editor flow, not this one. Maybe this one, editor flow node. Is this the one I want to look at? Editor flow node, yeah. Variant, turn null. All right, and then everything else starts to explode. Yeah, because these need to be variants. It's a bit weird how you're not allowed to override the return value, but I guess that's actually how it works in other, like maybe like Java or something. It's been a little bit since I've done this kind of overriding in Java. Or I say Java, I've only written Groovy somewhat recently. Let me see. Handle action, make async. So this will be var item. So this is async new, whatever the slots parameter currently as at. I still need to think about a better way of hooking this up. Right? Because when you delete an item, you also need to delete the associated slot and then also move every single item down one slot. I think I've already discussed this, but... Oh, actually, no, this doesn't need to have a slot. There is no slot for async. That doesn't make any sense. It's not possible for this to have a slot. Okay, so actually, let's do this. Since we don't need a slot for async, because there's no way you could actually... There's nothing that feeds into async, so we'll just give it -1, which is the default. Actually, hold on. Because it's actually like this, and actually return... No, return doesn't take any slots either, because why would you... What would you pass into it, I guess, is the question. All right, so editor flow node. Let's actually switch these. Because slot could be a nothing, right? AKA -1, there's no slot. Which means that this needs to go, this needs to flip. Or maybe not even flip, we just change this to like that. Like this, and then this one needs to flip. So this is a param. And it does need to have a slot because params can map to any other function, essentially. Yeah, like that. This breaks, so we just pass in slots afterwards. So there's your async. Oh, but then item delete pressed. Okay. Item queue free. Okay, so maybe I do need to do it like this, and then return is actually the same way. Because delete item runs some other logic to make sure the slots all match up. Okay. So there's async. I need some other logic as well to figure out... Yeah, I think that looks fine. I need some other logic to figure out if we already have a return value here, because you're not allowed to have multiple returns. And then I need to also have another button that's like... what do you do from here? Should it be a button that's like, you know, here's all the other actions you can do? I know I can't put it on the graph node directly, but maybe you could do something like this. So if you like drag out and do a thing, all right, this doesn't need to have a slot, by the way. The only things that need slots are the params. Oh. Oh. I see. That's kind of tough. So the slots, or I guess the ports that's actually set. Well, slots and ports are not the same thing, but I can't do it sequentially anymore. Okay, let me think. The special cases for you to handle memory leaks? Nope. I guess how would there be a memory leak? That's my question. What case would there be where there would be a memory leak? Right? If there's any memory leak, I think it would just be programmer error, right? Or is that not true? Let's see, add. I guess what I could do is I force everything, all the params to the very top, something like that. And then everything else can just be added to the end. But I do need to keep track of all the params, maybe. So it is async. We don't even need that. We'll just parse all the children. But then we do need to reorder the children based off of their group. Since when you destroy something, it may destroy by value. I don't think so. Well, once again, like I'm directly translating this into GD scripts. So whatever this is, right? So we have some parameters, we have a return value, we can make it async, right? Like whatever this is, this would get translated directly into like async. Actually, how do you make functions async again? Actually, there is no way to manually define an async function in GDScripts, right? But yeah, it maps back one-to-one whatever you would write in GDScripts. That's the point. Yeah, I don't think there's a way for me to make a function async like that, right? Or is there? Am I just crazy? Yeah, that's not how you do it. How do you do it again? There is if you use call, but then don't you just await? Hold on. I feel like I just lost a part of my brain. Don't those just work? Where's my other code where I used async before? Ignore that. Godot package manager, net utils. Yeah, it's just, yeah, it's an async function, but there's no such thing as async. Okay, get rid of that then. I don't think call has anything though. So if you look at call, yeah, it's just the variant call. So then if whatever you're calling is potentially asynchronous, then you would just await. But awaiting is just waiting for a signal, right? And then it bails you out of the current stack frame. Which is basically how that works. It's not the same as like async in other languages. Yeah, okay. So just add param. I guess set name. I think that's one of the more curious things about these graph nodes. Well, I don't know. I guess I could always just bump the number of slots up by 1. So like this. So these are node items. So we don't need async. Name extends node item. I don't know why I'm doing it like this, but it'll work. Line edit. Super. Name. Line edit. No. All right, I think I need to abstract that out because I'm getting really annoyed having to write it over and over again. Equals my func. I think I need to use async keyword in case of calling stored callable. That might be my memory errors. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think that's in GDScript. Yeah, I think you just awaits, and then everything is just implied async. So you kind of depend on the editor to figure it out for you. You got me. I've been doing too much Rust, and Rust actually has async functions that you awaits in a different way. So you can only await an async function. Or you have to await or pull, I suppose, an async function in Rust. That's not quite the same. Add child name new. Kind of like that. And then I'll just need to bump the number of slots up by 1. Slots plus equals 1. And then maybe that will look correct. I'm not sure. Like, this is something that I still don't really understand. Yeah, see, that's wrong. Ooh, now I'm getting errors. That's good. Oh, expected 0 but called with 1. That's right. Okay, let's see. All right. Well, it'll give you the item in the callback, so that makes sense. Like that. So I still need to figure out a way to make these all match up correctly. But you have your return, where you have your params, and then you have your return value, yeah. Yeah, use Linux, but how do you handle freeze when RAM is full? I think most people just add more swap space, right? Unless you already have like 2 gigs of swap, in which case, kind of out of luck. In case of memory leak, I don't know, just restart. I don't usually hit too many memory leaks. If you have a memory leak, I think there's some profiling stuff you can look at. Like if you just have a system monitor, you can see which process is taking up the most memory, right? So if you have some, like you can just hit it with the classic PS aux, right? And then just look. I mean, I don't really have anything to show, but you know, you can figure it out from there. Otherwise, there's not really a great way of doing it, right? Like even like the monitoring tools that we use only check general resource utilization. They don't do it on an application by application basis. Few tools, yeah. I mean, if you are legitimately running into memory limitations, you would just add more swap space. But of course, you don't want to use too much swap space. Although I have heard online that you want to have as much swap space as possible, which doesn't make any sense to me. But maybe I'm like super outdated. But swap is bad for your hard drive, right? Right? Isn't that true? Like, swap is supposed to be used when you don't need contiguous memory access. So like but your computer still needs resources to like store stuff in, right? So swap is just bad RAM essentially, right? But if you're running out of RAM, you could just add more swap. What I've always been told and taught is that you only configure up to 2 gigs. And then if you're running out of swap space as well, you need to get a better computer. Because just adding more swap means that you're killing your hard drive. Right. So add if. add. I don't know. Also when, not when, while. There's no such thing as when. Add for. Maybe just something like this. So these are just the keywords. It's a subset of the keywords. And then just go ahead and break some stuff here. Pull RAM. Usually advice to have 1.5 times RAM as swap, since you need to clear the memory, you'll need to swap to it first. Really? That's a lot of swap. Like, I think on most of my machines, I only have 2 gigs of swap. I've never run into issues with that, even when I max it out. You want to swap it back out, more space to move things around? Yeah, but like, you don't want you don't want that to like tear up your hard drive though, right? Because your hard drive degrades because of read writes, and then swap is just a really fast read write. Well, it's not. Well, reading is free. Well, actually, that's not true. Reading does have a cost unless you're already. Well, if you're on a traditional spinning disk hard drive, reading is not necessarily free. I think on a solid state, reading is more or less free, but writing is not free, and that's what swapping is, right? It's a really fast read and write, or write and read. So if you can avoid it, you should avoid it. Because I don't know, I've never had my computer freeze because of lack of swap. Like, my work computer only has, I think, 1 gig. Even though I have 16 gigs of RAM, I only have 1 gig of swap, I think. But I had while, right? If for while. Well, we'll think about how I want to chain these into other things. Actions, match. I guess like func. Or call. Like that. It's optimal use of swap. Your RAM usually never gets full. Of course, swap is bad for HDD. I point out swap is never intended as constant use. It's backup space in case of RAM management. Yeah, but like, you also don't need it. You also don't need it, right? Because your computer will just drop the RAM as needed, or it'll just lock up. That's the same it's the same even if you did have swap. And then it'll very slowly unlock itself as it clears itself. Unless you just have this an absolutely horrendous memory leak, but that's not clearing itself whatsoever. Right? Swap is supposed to give you the extra little push. Backup space. Yeah, I know. It's backup space, but you're not supposed to have. It's a backup. You don't need more backup than you have for your primary. Your backup should not be bigger than your primary. It doesn't make any sense. If you're maxing out on RAM, you probably have bigger issues. And will it help you recover faster? Yeah. Just like having more RAM will help you recover faster from not having RAM. Right, but it's unoptimal. And it kills your hard drive faster, if it's a solid state or otherwise. You know? All right, so if So all these nodes need to also feed into other nodes, right? So this is not a node item. Well, these are. So if while match call node. Right, so call node, we'll create a call node, blah, blah. So call will call another function in this case. And possibly I might need to break this out as well. So these are like operator nodes, I guess. Maybe, would you call these operators? These aren't traditionally operators. Operators are like addition, subtraction, etc. I really only had a plan for if statements. And maybe call statements as well. Let's say if you had a, what's the classic one? Fibonacci sequence. How would you do a Fibonacci sequence in terms of visual programming? An expression? What do you mean expression? Oh, like just a standalone expression? That's not really visual programming, right? Like, yeah, you could always do like a raw call. So you type in, you can just type in your own function if you want, or your own logic, and then I'll just paste it in. I have a plan for that. Shouldn't be a problem. Probably. Maybe. I don't know. Func. So call super. Thought this is how it works. Guess not. Well, what would you use an expression for except for, like, I guess a raw statement, right? Because visual programming, you're not supposed to be typing out that much stuff, right? You shouldn't be writing any code whatsoever in visual programming. That's the entire point, is that non-technical people get scared of their keyboard. The keyboard is very scary. So you want to limit the amount of typing in visual programming. So the more drag and drop you can do, the better. And then occasionally, if you have to do something like, okay, you want to name your parameter, fine. Guess I'll have to use my keyboard for the first time this week, you know? I guess this one would just have a line edit. All these are pretty similar, I'm not gonna lie. So this one is just the name of another function, right? So we want to call, and then this will need to have, what did I do? Oh, this is not a node item, that's right. I can still do this. Just can't do that. So some sort of line edit. Nothing in it. But then, I guess we'll just add child, the line edit. And that's it. And then add slot. Well, add. How would you know how many parameters this takes? Oh no. Oh no. Okay, now I'm actually getting into the implementation. There's a lot of things I didn't consider. So you're the type of guy that makes visual scripting a twist, since real players don't use like visual scripting as much with your own flavor. I mean, it is basically my own flavor. The twist is that this compiles down to GD scripts, right? So it simplifies parsing, because the syntax of visual scripting must be the same as, well, not the same, but the structure must be roughly the same as GD scripts, right? The old visual scripting implementation did not compile down to GDScript. I think the old one just had its own VM. And then all the other things. Oh, you know, that's what I was talking about before I got distracted. Is that there's a few people in the Godot Discord that are working on someone who mentioned me. Oh, there we go. Someone answered the question for me. Yeah, so like this person, like look at this. This is like completely unhinged. Look at this. Like this person wants to make their own visual scripting, and there's someone else who's making their own visual scripting stuff. Like last Hope Day, I visited Coach Sean, a programming genius, to learn a new programming language. To learn as fast as possible, I came up with a simple game as a project to apply what I learned as I learned. It was like I was trying to surface while being buried alive, and all due to classical programming paradigms. You awoke in a world where the language only had 2 words. Wouldn't you spend all your efforts to use those words to make better words? That's what I think would be the best use of our time. This week we'll explore implementing co-OS mod designs into Godot. Interestingly, Godot 3 had a VPL, visual programming language. It was not convertible to classical scripts, and that's why I was like, oh, convertible to classical scripts? There's an idea. Why isn't it convertible? Godot Go 4 dropped the feature because not enough people were using it, which makes sense. If you mark out a car, this is a run-on sentence. You mark out a car without rear wheels, of course no one will want to use it. It has to reach minimum viability. This is actually not what MVP stands for. It's either most valuable player, minimum viable product. Minimum viability doesn't have a P in it. That's what we will be exploring. What is the MVP of a VPL? I suspect we will be running into friction as my mod designs rely on other co-OS elements that are not present in Godot. But if the designs can be applied to a pre-existing language, then I imagine that would be a doable win for those who already use other languages. Thankfully, I'm told that Godot is ideal for interface development. Mods, capitalized for some reason, are interface dependent, so that improves our chances. Yeah. Anyways, it's kind of weird. And then this other person, if I can find him, Queen of Squiggles, is also making their own thing. And then they're making their own VM. So they convert all their stuff to bytecode, which is also insane. Why not just do something like this? Why not just, you know? The only really difficult part is trying to figure out what the how to make this fit. I guess what I would need to do, maybe call nodes, it must look up. Yeah, it must look up other nodes. So there must be some sort of other global lookup, I guess, for other functions, and then you would have a drop down for those functions. Does that make sense? Right? Because otherwise I don't know how many parameter inputs to expose. Right? Because like, say my function has 2 parameters, and if I want to call my function, I need to have 2 parameter inputs. And then, you know, my variables would come from somewhere. Can't do this, probably lacking constructive knowledge, so it's hard to do. Yeah, well, I've never done this before, so we're all learning. We're all learning. It's an interesting problem because it's like I don't want this to be too complicated, which is why I have like the kind of bailout thing where it's called a raw node, so you can just write scripts and then I'll just inject it into the generated code. So editor, raw node, editor, flow node, editor, raw node. This one's pretty easy, right? So class name, it's pretty much, it's the exact same as the comments node. Where is it? Editor comments. Well, it's not the exact same, but it's pretty close. It is pretty close. So it's not a comment, it's raw. And that's it, really, yeah. Let me add a private function here. expand control. Control, size, flags, horizontal, R, expand fill. Okay, yeah, because this is something I use a lot. Oh. Text edit. Yeah, I think most things I do on stream I've never done before. And it makes me wonder, is like, I don't know, do other streamers, do they actually practice? Do they practice their stuff beforehand or like what? I don't know. Maybe I should be like, maybe I should write a thing beforehand, finish an entire project beforehand, and then stream it. So that I can look like I know what I'm doing. That would be pretty neat. And then everybody be like, oh, how does he know how to write everything? It's like he's like reading off a script or something. That would be sick. Really feed my ego. But it's like if you're working on something novel, something that's no one's, or I guess not too many people have done before, it's gonna look kind of stilted. Look, you know, like you don't really know what you're doing because you don't really know what you're doing. I know roughly what I should be doing, but after some point, you know, we're kind of out into uncharted waters. And so it's really tough to Right, it just gets tough. Yeah, that's basically it. I think these text edits don't need to be expanded. But everything else should be fine, yeah. You just copy and paste, I can do that. Yes. Can you copy and paste my code though? Because this isn't actually available on the internet just yet. So yeah, I think you might run into a few issues right away. Hey, but if you're able to copy and paste through the screen, that's amazing. I would like to have that technology as well. Yeah, okay. I think that looks pretty good. Raw node. That's fine. We can just add this back to the edit flow. It's not editor flow, it's just edit flow because you are editing a flow. Add to workspace. That's pretty easy, blah, blah. Okay. And then we go through every single action and then populate the bar. And if there are no actions, then we don't put anything in the bar. Yeah. Raw node, good enough. It just gives you everything that's in the text edit. Comment node, almost literally the exact same thing. I think these should expand fine as well. Or do these not expand? Oh my god, they don't expand. Fantastic. I love that. Okay, bring me back. Text edit, size, flags, vertical is that what the problem was? That might have been the problem. Comment. Okay, yeah, so these just full expand. Okay, cool. Now we can get rid of this. All right, so editor function. So functions must be globally registered then, I guess. So that's kind of tough. So a function must be globally registered in order for me to know which functions I can even look for. And then Godot doesn't have the concept of a singleton function. Like I could add a singleton. You know what? I could just add a singleton so that will help manage the current nodes. You know what? That might be an idea. because I do need something to exist. Can you do that? Isn't that's an editor plugin thing, right? So editor plugin, and then you can add a add auto load singleton. Adds a script at path to the auto load list as a name. Sure. Okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense. So let's add an auto load thing. So editor manager, I guess. So this will just have to be a singleton, because I don't see another way of doing it. So I guess it's editor manager. So it's a node. You don't need to use a tokenizer. No. I don't need a tokenizer. Well, see, that's why I think Godot is one of the easier ones to do this for, right? Because Godot, you're not allowed to just have expressions. You can't have an expression like you can't do this, right? That's invalid. The only expression that you're allowed to have at the root level is a string, right? Oh, actually, you're not even allowed to do that. You can have doc strings, I think. Can't you have a root level doc string? You can't have a root level doc string anymore. Yeah. So that makes it really, really easy. Yeah, and I'm making a hand gesture right now, but that's what makes it easy. Is everything must be inside a function. So you don't need to tokenize anything, right? You just parse the function definition, right? So you just parse the function, and then you slap it into a file, and then it's good enough. And actually, I'm pretty sure you can put functions anywhere you want as well. So if I did like function hello, you know, returns a string, return world, like you can put it here, can't you? Oh no, you can't. Okay, I guess those two things, class name and extends, need to be at the very top, but then after that you can put anything anywhere you want. Yeah, I deleted tons of these when I ported some library. Yeah, it's kind of annoying. Because also, like, you're not supposed to do that in Python either. Like, good code style means that you're not supposed to, like in Python, right? You have the classic if name is equal to main, right? Then, you know, execute main. Like that's how you're supposed to do it generally, unless you're just writing a really quick utility script. But like time and time again, I'll see just like tons of projects, they'll just have, you know, mylib executes at the root level. I'm like, what are you doing? It means the thing is executed as soon as the script finishes parsing, which is not always what you want. Let's write that because I get confused. Yeah, exactly. And because it also makes it obvious what the entry point is. Because sometimes it is kind of tough to tell, like, where is the entry point for this application? Is it just like a random function call at the root level? Is it a main function? If you have the if name is main, you know, it's easy. You just like if name is main, then that's your entry point. So editor manager. I guess I'll just add this here. I don't want to enable the plugin just yet, but I can. Editor manager, and then we'll call this class name gd flow editor manager, something like that. Oh wait, no, you can't do that because you're not allowed to do this, right? So if I add an auto load, where is it? Here. I guess I could add it like that, but I can't refer to it as GDFlow editor manager. Yeah, it collides with its own name. I've never really considered that because I don't usually write these. I don't usually write plugins like this. I don't know. Otherwise, how do I pass these things around without a singleton? I know there is a way you can do it. Is you just attach the node to whatever you're working with. So whenever you create like an editor function node, then you just attach your manager to it right after you create it. All right, and then you just attach the same instance to everything. You could do that. I don't want to do that. Can you create a root global instance? I can. Yeah. I mean, it's just yeah, like you can do if I just do this somewhere else. Let's see, editor, just editor. What I can do, ignore this, but I think this is fairly optimal, honestly. It just looks kind of bad. Right, but I can do var node is, you know, a node. Node name is my node. Whoops. Then I can do get tree root add child node. Right, like that, and then it'll just be accessible from somewhere else. I think you should be able to do that. Yeah. No? Is it busy setting up? Yeah. Sorry. Call deferred. Add child node, and then this will just be accessible from the root node. Yeah, so there's my node just hanging out, but it's not accessible as an auto load, so I cannot do my node, you know, free. Yeah, I just had to wait for it. But you can do get node root my node, like that. I guess I do need to call deferred it, but you know. I guess what I can do is ready connect func. Here's a kind of a hack you can do. It's not really a hack, but it's a similar to how Unity has, I think, post. It has ready and post ready or something like that. Here's how you would do that in Godot, is just connect to the ready signal like that. Oh, actually, this is invalid because it's null. So get await, because I called deferred the first call. So get tree process frame. Yeah. So then if I look here, then we don't have my node. Yeah. But if I comment this out, look in the remote tree, we do have my node. Yeah. So I could do that. It's a bit weird. I don't really want to do it that way. I could though. Definitely could. You know what? That's probably good enough. Since I don't need to do it very often. Yeah, you know what? All right, fine. We're doing it. GD flow editor manager. And then we'll just kind of insert it via the plugin. So here, var editor manager, GD flow editor manager, which is null to start out with. And I found that it's better to do it like this. So whenever you enter the tree is whenever you create all your stuff. Because sometimes your plugin just fails to initialize. So it never enters the tree, but it does create all the objects. And then your now leaking memory. At least that's what I've noticed in Godot 3. So now I just do it this way every single time. Gflow editor manager, new, get tree, roots, add child editor manager, and then exit tree. If editor manager is not null, editor manager queue free. Yeah, there we go. And then if I just need to access the editor manager, I just need to just know where it is, which is the root node, I guess. What the hell? Sorry. I cursed. Did anyone hear that? The loud thumping noise. Gotta love living in apartments. I've had the displeasure of living beneath non-Asian people for like 4 years in a row. I like living below Asian people because Asian people take off their shoes. White people have a tendency to not take off their shoes, so they just stomp around. All right, so. So known functions, functions. Oh, thanks for redeeming a hydrate. Let's drink some water. Yeah, but I think this will work. Here we go. 300 milliliters. I think I've actually haven't drank enough water today. I've drank a lot of coffee though. Should probably drink more water. All right, but known functions. I guess this is just it's a string array, I suppose. So known functions, known classes, and so. I'm thinking. So wouldn't you need to have one of these per file? Wouldn't you? Yeah. See, coffee also hydrates. It hydrates you and then it dehydrates you once it leaves your body. Right? Because a coffee is a diuretic, so it does induce urination. So initially you do get hydrated, and then once you actually process it, then you get dehydrated afterwards. So I think if you have, if you are desperate for water, and you know that you're about to get more water, you should drink coffee. But if you are currently dehydrating and you have no other source of water, you should not drink it. But you know, if you know you're about to, if you're desperately thirsty and you know that you can get water in 30 minutes, you should drink the coffee. Yeah. If you're not able to get water in like 30 minutes, though, you should not drink it. I think it's the same for alcohol. Isn't alcohol also a diuretic? Diuretic. Liquids. Yeah, coffee. Isn't alcohol a diuretic? I know teas are diuretics. Is alcohol... Yeah, there we go. Google's listening to me right now in real time. Alcohol is a diuretic. Yeah. It's better to drink than not, right? No. Absolutely not. If you drink a diuretic, you're going to dehydrate. You'll initially hydrate a little bit, for sure. Because it's still a liquid. With water in it. It's not like you're drinking liquid metal. But then once your body actually processes it, you're gonna feel even worse, right? It's the same reason why you don't drink like salt water. Like there is water in salt water. You'll feel a little better initially, and then you'll start to feel really, really bad. So known functions, known classes. But then you need some way to track the parameter list as well. So this should be a oh no. This needs to be a dictionary then. So it's a dictionary of I'm just trying to think, how would you track this? Right? So if I define a function called myfunc, has a param, and it returns a variance. Right, so I need to know about the name. I need to know about the number of parameters. Not necessarily the name of the parameters, although it would be nice. Drink diluted coffee more like. Wait, diluted. Diluted? I don't know. I suppose if someone was whispering fake news to your coffee, it would be diluted for sure. But yeah, I need some way to register this so that I can then fill in this. So I could do like a register function, and then I also need a way to clear it. So I need to parse the file in real time. And then possibly do it per file as well, which is confusing me. Right, because you don't need to track functions across files. You can even have the same function across multiple files that all do different things and all have different function signatures. That's interesting. That's interesting. I guess because I don't want to. I know I don't want to reparse every single time, right? Because if you do something like this, right? Oh, not this. This create new. No, don't create a new plugin. Just enable it. Right? Because you can do something like this. Like you have new flow, new flow, new flow, right? And each of these new flows. I don't. Do you like what I did here, by the way? I thought it was cool. Because actually, your default tab thingy does not expose this little X button. So I actually just stole the built-in X button as well. So you can click on that. Oh, look, it just goes away. But you can have two things, right? Like myfunc here, and then you can also have myfunc here in two different files, and then that's still technically valid. So I don't want to just parse in a global context. But I also don't want to reparse, because if you do this really quickly, that's also a valid thing you can do, right? So if every time I switched to a new tab, I had to reparse the entire flow, I guess. So I was asking, well, I mean, this is already tokenized. This is already tokenized. This is pre-tokenized. That's the beauty of it, is it's already tokenized. Right? Like the token is here. So we know that this is a function. And then each function has some children. Each graph node has children. And then each of the children I've actually defined in a very specific way. So they all define a get data thing. All right, this should also be have get data. Right? Turn line, edit, text. Right, it's beautiful. So yeah, it's pre-tokenized. So all I need to do is look for every single starting node, every single start node. So each is pretty much just going to be function. Just look for function start, essentially. And then maybe some, I don't know, like you can also have class. You can also, class name and extends. That's a good one as well. I need to add those. So var const func class name, and then raw and comments are just directly injected into the code. So I guess I'm just missing class name now. Which means I should actually call this inner class. But basically just look for the start nodes, and then it just parses itself, right? It's tokenizes and parses itself. And then I have all the information I need to actually generate valid GD script after that. The question is, how do I, like if I were to do like call, like you do a call statement, so this generates some sort of function call, it just leads into this node over here. How do I know which functions I have access to? Right? Because again, right? Because I can have two my funcs in two different files, and that's completely valid. I think subgraphs, right? The ability to define an inner flow and then kind of import it into this flow would be good. So it's like what you were saying, right? Is that you were saying something. I had it in my head. My memory's gotten so bad after COVID. But that's also because I didn't speak for like a month and a half. So that's also something about that. My speaking ability is a lot worse. You could have subgraphs. You can have... there was something else. Maybe create a reference table for each tab. Yeah, that's... I was thinking about it, but then how do I keep track of which tab is valid? Right? Because if I were to do this, right? So I'm about to just close it. Then what? Do I just clear the... Do I just clear it? I guess I could just clear it. Yeah. If I just clear it, it's really fast. Okay, I guess I could just clear it. Reference table for each node. I don't think I need to do that, because each node keeps track of itself, in theory. In theory, each node keeps track of itself. No? It must be saved as a file? What do you mean? Like like in theory, right? You could do, I'm going to use the standalone version. Right, you could do like func, new flow, you know, another func. Well, I don't know, actually, how would you do that? I was going to say, like, I could save this as a file and then be like, I want to import this new flow into my old flow, but then I'm not sure how you would do that. Like, how would that work? And how would I handle the namespace clashes, considering that these are both just called myfunc? The reference table needs to be compiled and saved for each change, just like texting files. I'm thinking. Like, I already have an idea of how I want to serialize each one, if that's what you're saying. Right, so each one is a GD flow resource. And then once I compile it, I guess, right, so I walk the entire tree and I figure out which nodes are connected to which nodes, right? So this is a GD flow node. And then I keep an array of nodes that lead to this one and nodes this, or I guess the previous nodes and the next nodes. Basically a doubly linked list. But instead of it just being like one link, it's multiple links, right? And then that's how I would serialize it, right? Is that GD flow resource is a list of nodes. Each list of nodes, you know, they're all linked to each other, and you're never able to have a circular link of nodes either, because that doesn't make any sense. But this is for like the compile step. Can you actually save it as a text scene? No, no. It would be as a T-res, a text resource. And then once I have that text resource, then I can compile it. Because I think after that, it's really easy. In theory. I'm still thinking about it. It's hard. I guess, yeah, I can keep a dictionary per file right now. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I don't see a better way of doing it. Although maybe edit flow I can just keep, yeah, maybe edit flow I can just keep, I can keep track of all of them. Oh, I can just keep track of them like this. What am I doing? Okay, so get rid of this. I don't need this anymore. So edit flow nodes. Yeah, I don't need this anymore, so say goodbye. You know what? I probably should start tracking this in Git as well. Starting to get nervous with all the deletions. GD flow. I've been working on this, by the way. Oh, I didn't even track my actual time. Let me see. Did someone open an issue on one of my things? Oh, security vulnerability. Yeah, that's fine. Hold on. New repo. GD flow. Public. I'm gonna MPL it. What's the MP? I have the MPL license on one of my repos, but I don't usually use it. Although I've been convinced I should be using the NPL now. Whatever. I'll just create it later. Get remote add origin, add origin. Git status. No readme just yet. Git add all. Push you origin master. No, that's what I always hear. Whenever I say master, I'm like master. You know, ever heard of Master of Puppets? I could play quite a few Metallica songs back in the day. Not anymore. I can still do Master of Puppets, I think. I can't do the solo anymore. I can do a lot of the intros, but the solos are tough. I think the only one I can still do is one. But that playing one by yourself is like surprisingly or somewhat ironically. Maybe it's not ironic because it's literally just called one. It's a little sad though. All right, there's the MPL. Commit me. Git pull me. Yeah. And whenever I listen, Nothing Else Matters. I don't really. I'm gonna be honest. I don't really like Nothing Else Matters. I know Nothing Else Matters is it's a classic song that you learn if you know how to play fingerstyle guitar. I don't know. I just don't find it fun to play, so I never learned it. I found the song very boring, which is, I suppose, rich coming from someone who likes the song "Welcome Home Sanitarium." Boo ba ba do 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 bo ba ba da 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 do ba bo bo ba bo bo ba bo bo ba ba bo bo ba ba. Something like that. I started off key and now I'm completely lost. You know that feeling? Simple things you see, but afterwards you realize it's full of emotion. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of songs like that. I don't know. I prefer songs that are more in your face, unfortunately. Like my favorite movie, or one of my favorite movies of all time, is Requiem for a Dream, which is I think understandably gets a lot of flack for being way too in your face. Right? Because the song, well, not the song, but the movie is just about like how drugs like ruins 4 people's lives. And it's like, yeah, I get it. Drugs are bad. Yeah, like you tell me something I don't know, right? But like when you watch it, you're like, like you're the movie is basically like you're supposed to feel scared here, or you're supposed to feel stressed, and then like the entire combination of everything is just like, yeah, you know what? I'm starting to feel a little stressed now. Like the song is like freaking me out. Like I'm not sure if this like lady's going senile or if she's, you know, taking too many sleeping pills, you know? Well, that movie is biased. Yeah, I mean, Requiem for a Dream is definitely biased. I mean, it's not untrue. Oh, hello, Nero. I'm thinking about how I'm supposed to do this. I mean, this is what I'm working on. Did I already close it? I did already close it. This is what I'm working on. Because as I was telling Bum D here, I was looking at this like weird rant here. Like this is clearly a crazy person, but this part was like, oh, it was not visual scripting in Godot was not convertible to classical script. But what if it was? Ah. And because Godot has a very specific way that it forces you to write scripts, it means that it's actually very easy to convert to classical scripting, because you're not allowed to have root level expressions like 1 plus 1. You're not allowed to do that. Whereas in Python, you are allowed to do that. Right, so that means I just need to parse all the functions. Well, you parse all the functions, you parse all the variables, you parse the class name, extends, etc. And then the question is, how do I do this? Right, so if I define my function here, and then in maybe like the process function, I want to call my function, how do I know? How do I know how many parameters it has? How do I know like what it returns? How do I know like it even exists? Which is a little confusing. So what I'm thinking is I'll parse each thing, because this is what it looks like. And actually I don't know why I keep turning it off. It's actually totally safe for me to keep this on, because unlike a normal tool script in Godot, I'm not using tool scripts. I'm modifying them at runtime to run as tool scripts. So these actually will not change even if I make modifications to the script right now, which is cool. Some of the text scenes might change, but that's nothing you can do about that. So known functions. So if you have multiple things like this, then each new flow should register itself. Is there a GUID generator? So like register flow, something like that. Can I generate GUIDs in Godot? Does Godot have GUID or UUIDs? UUID. Get device pipeline cache UUID. I'm curious, what the heck is this? All right, there's nothing here as expected. Oh, because this is the rendering device. I don't even know what this is. Oh, is this like low level? Oh my god. What the heck is this? This is, oh, I didn't even know you had this. What? Look at this. I don't know what create local device is, but that's crazy. Oh, but you don't have you only have frame buffer access. You don't have the other buffer access. That's still a lot better than it used to be though. Yeah. Look at this. They finally exposed low-level rendering access. They still don't expose what's it called? Stencil buffer? But at least now you just have the frame buffer if you want. If you want to have the frame buffer, you can get a render pipeline. What the heck? You can create your own render pipeline? You can compile your own shaders from source? That's wild. Or from bytecode? Are you kidding me? I'm very curious if there's anybody actually doing this. From GD scripts. I would have to assume that you would almost exclusively use this from like a GD extension. That's cool though. I bet you somebody's gonna use it. Yeah, well, you know, it might be me. Because actually what I was looking at was actually porting my my GD Lisp thing that I wrote to GD script. And look at that. So there's a script language extension, and then these are generally always implemented in C++. So I was looking at the GD script implementation because GD script uses the same interface, and also C# does as well. So I just kind of copied a lot of their stuff, or some of their stuff. I haven't actually done everything. But I think it looks like I can just register, as long as I do it like this, that's how you get new languages into the editor. So maybe maybe I could do it. Especially since Lisps are pretty easy to, well, no language is easy to write, but Lisps are the easiest of the languages to write, except maybe like a stack-based language. But as far as ready to use with being memory safe, I don't think it's memory safe. Are you talking about the rendering device? Or are you talking about the languages? I think direct access to the renderer is not safe to use. What? Yeah? I listed two things. I don't know what yeah means. Rendering device or new scripting languages. I think both are not safe. Unless you... the scripting language you can make safe. Rendering device, no, I don't. I'm pretty sure the rendering device is not safe to use. Right, because it's direct access to the renderer. So if you can just allocate memory in the rendering device and then just not put anything there. So then you'll be reading whatever was in that memory location previously, right? And so that's actually potentially a security vulnerability, right? Because you're reading the previous state that was there. And I'm pretty sure Godot does not zero out memory when it's done with it. Those calls also handle memory. No, I'm pretty sure it's just direct. I'm pretty sure it's just direct, right? Anything low level, you just do it, right? So register flow, and then you do class known flow extends ref counted. I know you don't need to do this, but I prefer it. Well, I prefer things to be more what's the word? Exact, just in case it changed the default in the future. That's owning combat boots in a coastal sea, so I'll eat some up. Fridge polish, tin barely lasted 2 months. It's unfortunate. You have like, do you have like metal-toed boots with exposed metal toes? I've owned metal-toed hiking boots before, but the metal bit had leather over it, or polyester. Whatever the weird synthetic leather is over the toe. And then I got rid of them because metal-toed boots don't make any sense to have unless you're a construction worker. Which, you know, spoilers, I don't work in construction. I did work in a warehouse for like half a year. And that was pretty easy. Definitely enjoyed that. So editor flow. Editor flow node. That's a graph node. So edit flow. And then this needs to have a... Yeah, maybe I can just give it the graph edit. Yeah, I think I can just give it the graph edit and that should be fine. So flow, some sort of graph edits, and then we'll just grab all of the children in it. Fresh salt versus genuine leather. Oh, is it not polished tin? Is it Polish tin? Is Polish tin a brand? Polish tin? Boots? No, that's shoe polish. I'm familiar. I don't like applying shoe polish. It's hard to get off your hands. A tin of black polish, yeah. My fresh polish tin. Yeah. Leather polish. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's salty. It's salt air. Salty air. I can't say that where I live is about the same. It is very humid here, though. I pretty much have only ever lived in humid cities. Lived or worked in humid cities. I think the one time that I spent like 2 weeks in New Mexico, which is middle of the desert, basically. Hiked around for 2 weeks. That was amazing. Pretty sick. It was so dry. Like you could sit under a tree and you wouldn't be like, man, I'm still sweaty because of all the humidity. You'd just be like, man, it's hot. It's hot, but I'm not really that sweaty. It just feels like it's baking right now. But you sit under the shade and it's like, this is not so bad. All right, so register flow. And so then graph edits, you just look at all their children. So for child in flow get children. Don't include the internals, right? And then I'll also need to register it with a, I think I need to generate a UUID. Yeah. I think you do need to generate a UUID. Is there, how do you generate UUIDs again? I can just do that myself. To generate, or I can, a GUID is good enough as well. Give me Python, please. And I'm also not sure. What's the difference between a GUID and a UUID? Oh, they're both the same. Okay. Oh, GUID is Microsoft. Okay. That's basically it. Okay, well these are all modules, but like, can I just manually do it? Is there a way to manually generate a GUID? Yeah, have some cookies. Python manually generates UUID. Sure. Creating deterministic set of UUIDs? Now that's a curious question. Okay, well that's interesting. Isn't there? I guess you're not able to do that? How do I manually generate a UUID? That's not what I want. How are UUIDs generated? How are UUIDs generated? Yes. Do you think Wikipedia has something? I don't know. I've never heard of tech target, but we'll see. Date time. Is it based off of date time? Don't join those. I guess, yeah, I could generate like a random number based off of the date time. I don't think I want to do that. Time-based UUID. It's literally, is that, well, I mean, this says it's a time-based UUID, but how do I, is it really just based off of date time? Okay, sure. Clock, sequence, and variant, but they, okay, but how do I generate it though? Like, yeah, like based off of date time, but like if I'm looking at this still doesn't make any sense to me. Like this tells me nothing. What is a low time? Or do you have I been missing out my entire life and people have been telling time in mid time, but I've been using low time? ROC. I don't know. How to manually generate UUID. How to manually generate UUID. All right, give me. I like bail done. Never mind, I don't like bail done. And you hash it if you want, but like, how do I? Just saying it's based off of date time doesn't tell me anything. Like how? Oh, okay, here we go. Okay, version 3 and 5 UUIDs use hash names drawn from a unique namespace. Moreover, the concept of names is not limited to a textual form. For example, a domain name service, DNS, object identifiers, OIDs, URLs, etc. are considered valid namespaces. So they hash the namespace identifier plus the name. In detail, the difference between UUID v3 and UUID v5 is the hashing algorithm. v3 uses MD5, 128 bits, while v5 uses SHA-1, 160 bits, truncated to 128 bits. For both versions, we replace the bits to correct the version and the variant accordingly. Alternatively, we can generate type 3 UUID from the previous namespace, give it a name, and use the method from bytes. Bytes from UUID. Probably not. I don't know. This looks pretty good, though. I'm gonna take this. Simple dates plus minutes plus seconds plus milliseconds. I don't know. This seems neat. This seems neat. Generates Plunk. Generates UUID v1. It says it's a v1. This will give me, I don't know, it'll give me a string or something. Who cares? I've never done this manually before, but Godot does not appear. I just my normal accent slipped out. Does not appear. Give you. Suggesting it was as simple as UUID. There are more standards. Yeah, there's more standards for sure. System current time milliseconds. Doesn't that has get time get time string. Yeah, sure. I don't know. Some sort of string. It's supposed to be a long, but I don't care. Actually, what does time string give you? Returns. Oh, that's a. Can I just get the ticks? Or can I just get Unix time, please? Oh, get Unix time from system. All right, that's exactly what I want. That's good enough. When is Unix time supposed to run out? Isn't it like a 2040 something? How do you guarantee to get a unique number? Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? That you always keep incrementing based off of the current time. I mean, you know, sure, that makes sense to me. But if we're going to be calling it like UUID, I do at least want to make sure I'm doing it correctly. I suppose it doesn't actually need to be a UUID. Oh, this isn't even a valid hex, is it? Actually, what is this? What is this? Oh, these are longs. Oh. Does that mean if I take this out? No, it's still too long to be a long. That's right. Wait, no. No, that's... Oh. I don't know. Int. Make it an int, and then we can bit shift it by 32 bits. And then we and it. Should be fine. Oh no, let's just copy whatever the heck this is. This looks pretty good. Looks very confusing. Which means it's perfect. Time doesn't flow backwards, you don't know that. You can't prove it. Probably, I don't know. You don't, maybe I actually live in the 4th dimension. Therefore, time is just a mental construct for me. Have you ever considered this? All right, time high, all right. It's kind of weird how they're mixing, actually, this is, by the way, this is wrong. You're not supposed to do, at least in terms of most Java linters, this is wrong. You're not supposed to use snake case in Java. You're supposed to use camel case. All right. And then it's just all of these. Just all of these anded together. That was gonna be an int. Yeah, I mean that looks pretty good, I guess. I don't know. And then we'll just yeah, we can just register it like that. So var known flows is equal to some sort of dictionary. It's an empty dictionary for now. Then here we'll assign it. We'll give you back the UUID so we can know which UUID it was registered with. So var UUID, generate this. Return the UUID afterwards just so we can save it. And then known flow. So var known, I guess it's, yeah, known flow. It's known flow new. And then we'll store all the stuff in there. Or actually, I'm still thinking about it. So we do need, 100% we need UUIDs, because if you have an anonymous flow that you have not saved yet, you still need to be able to reference it somehow. Okay. You still need to reference it somehow. And then you also need to be able to get rid of it once you close it, just in case you don't save. So once you delete it, we make a call out to our manager with the UUID. So it's only possible to close an existing flow like this. Well, I suppose if we can't find the UUID, then that's fine. Or if there's no UUID at all, then that means that we haven't registered our flow with the manager yet, which means there's nothing to there's nothing to get rid of. So that makes sense to me, I think. Okay. That's probably fine. So we don't even need to run through every single one of them. What we can do is just make sure that each flow has a reference to the graph edits, which may become invalid at some points. Maybe create a UUID when the node is created. But why would I want to create a UUID when a node is created? Wouldn't I just want to create a UUID like immediately? So when I click on, say, new flow here, Wouldn't I want to just immediately register it? Because it exists. But I mean, the UUIDs are guaranteed to be unique, right? And then I don't need to like listen for like a first time registration, right? So like say if I only created it on the first time I created a node, what happens if I delete the node? Then what? Does that mean I delete it from the manager? Like I guess I don't. You also remove the UUI. Well, am I doing UUIDs per node? Because that doesn't make too much sense to me. Like well, you need. You make a great point. You make a great point. I didn't consider this. This is also valid for a little bit. Turns out visual programming languages more difficult than I thought. I didn't consider that. This is technically valid for a little bit. Now, once you get to like compiling, that's when it, you know, that's wrong. But for a little bit, you are allowed to have two things with the same name. Don't know. Well, you know, I don't really plan that far ahead. I'm not that much of a planner. I mean, I plan enough. I plan enough to get started, and then we just kind of wing it. You know, like I told you, the idea was based off of the fact that I read that guy's rants, and I was like, you know what? Isn't it? It is kind of weird that you don't. There's no visual programming language for GDScript that just compiles back down to GDScript. I wonder how hard it would be. Just handle it. So yeah, remove UUID has been removed. Yeah, you know what? That makes sense. I guess if you just use, if you hard commit to the UUID thing, then it just solves itself. Yeah, that's right. That's true. That's true. If you just hard commit to it, it solves itself. So maybe I move this, the generate UUID thing, to somewhere else, like a utility function, I guess, then. So we'll create a new class, like gdflow util. And it's some sort of, it doesn't matter what it is, we'll make it an object, because we're never going to instantiate it. And we just need this to generate UUIDs. Class name, gdflow util. Give me this. This is UUID. Kind of ugly. Actually, that's not how you're supposed to do it at all. UUID. This gives you a UUID. It's beautiful. Here. Whatever. GD flow util. Give me a UUID, please. That's your UUID. So we associate this with UUID. Oh, sorry. It's a static function. Make all big though, if you can. It's fine. I don't try. Just don't worry too much about performance. I think for the most part, it's gonna be fairly unperformance, and that's fine. I can live with that. Edit flow. So we can generate a UUID for this as well. So UUID, some sort of int currently equal to -1. I suppose I just do like this. GD flow util UUID. It's just a standard, but do as you please. It's fine. It's fine. I think it makes sense though. If you just associate everything with UUIDs, then it makes it easier to track stuff as well. Which means I'll go to here. So we have the private variable slots, which I still need to think about because it's hard to associate slots. I think I do need to rethink the implementation of how slots are handled here, right? Because if you do multiple params, or I guess something like this, right? If I do something like, oh, I mean, that solved itself. I don't know. This thing just seems very unreliable. Since it's a constant but also a variable. Yeah, it's a constant variable. It's very strange. It should be static, but Godot doesn't have static variables. It only has static methods, which is annoying. UUID, it's an int. Is GD flow util UUID. Yeah. So like you can't make this a constant because Godot says it's not a constant, which makes sense. Yeah, it's a static variable. It's a final static variable. Or maybe not static, maybe it's just a final variable, but Godot also does not have final variables. You really only have those in, well, I know Java has them, C# has them. I believe other languages also have like read-only. It's a mutable constant var. Yeah, exactly. Now you're getting it. Now you're getting it. All right, but there's a UUID. Then we can register ourselves, right? So if we go to our plugin, I think I am going to do that kind of weird hack where I take the GD Flow Editor Manager. Yeah, we add it there, and then we just kind of know about it. Actually, that's what the GD Flow util is for. Static func get manager get, or let's call it editor manager. GD Flow editor manager, and then return. Oh, but you can't do get tree calls from this, right? You must do like engine get main loop root get node root GD Flow editor manager, right? Something like that, because you can't just do a get tree, right? Get tree doesn't work in statics. Yeah, that's right. So you engine get main loop blah blah blah, which is essentially the same thing. It's close. It's not quite the same thing, but it's very close. And then we can do edit flow, because each GD flow is referred to as a flow, but then there's also editor flow node, and that might start confusing me, but I also feel like there's not really a great way around that. GD flow util editor manager. I don't know. Give me a breakpoint here. I'm curious if this will work. New flow. Break me is null. Good to know. Does it exist? Oh, it's I didn't add it, did I? That's right. Wait. Am I stupid? I did add it, right? Oh, I did it! In standalone mode, it doesn't exist. That's right, okay. That's my bad. Wait. No. Wait, where did I add my node? Excuse me? Wait, Or is that what I called it? Wait, hold on. Am I stupid? Where does this come from? Root my node? Where did I add this? I'm feeling very dumb. I'm feeling very dumb. I feel like I'm starting to lose my mental faculties. Am I stupid? Globals is on a global. I don't have any auto loads. I know I added it. I know I added it at some points. What? Okay, where is my node? Sure, find it. Oh, it's here in the editor. That's right. So here, as long as I do there. Okay, so all right, good catch. All right, just add this. It's fine. We can just kind of bleh. So new flow. So manager should, oh, it's still null. Excuse me. Ah, really? Did I not do that? Get tree, root, add child. Did it throw an error? Oh, it's because it's busy adding, that's right. That's right. Get tree. Well, we can do something like this, right? Ready, connect. I don't even need to yield. That's fine. Ready, connect, func. Just kind of slap it in there. So after, oh, really? Oh, interesting. Oh, because signals are synchronous. That's right. I'm dumb. Get tree. I always forget that signals are actually synchronous. Even though they, like, don't seem synchronous, they definitely are. Add child. Give me this. Nah. Here we stop, we get the manager. Really? Is this still not here? Oh, it doesn't have a legible name. I'm starting to lose my mind. I'm starting to lose my mind. Add child is force readable name. Okay, well, okay, fine. Let's do it like this then. Var manager. Sys manager name is GD flow editor manager, and I should do the same thing in the plugin as well. All right, so let's do this. Plugin. I suppose I don't need to call deferred, but that's fine. It doesn't really matter. Oh wait, hold on. Hold on. Give me all of this. Ba, ba, ba. Editor manager. Editor manager. Yeah, there we go. So that should be more correct. And then here we have the manager. We can look for it directly, blah, blah, blah. And then here we'll just register our own flow with the manager, right? So I guess we don't even need to store it in a variable because it's a single function call, and then we'll be giving it a reference to our own graph edits. So register flow, and we'll give it our workspace. Call deferred is safer unless you want surprises. Well, I don't know. I feel like when I was new to Godot, I tended to overuse like call deferred or whatever, or like queue free. But I think once you know, like when things are doing setup, like you generally, you only want to do those when you're interacting with the scene tree. But if you're already in the scene tree or already outside of the scene tree, you don't need to queue free or queue or call deferred, right? It's only because when you enter or exit the scene tree, it runs a bunch of like enter or exit hooks, right? So I think once you figure out, You know, where things are going to exist, you don't need to do it anymore. Unless you absolutely must do it. Yeah, otherwise there's not too much. Like, I think like call deferred is nice when you're doing physics as well sometimes. So like sometimes you just want to do something on the next physics frame, or you need to wait until something happens. But of course you always need to be careful about that as well. Because I believe that call deferred doesn't wait for physics frames. But it ensures the current physics frame ticks before you actually apply something. It's a bit weird. I've kind of moved away from doing call deferred and queue freeze though. It's only when we're, well, not queue free, but call deferred I've moved away from. Queue free is always nice though. I think this is fine. Standalone, probably good enough. Did I do this here in plugin? I did, okay. You know what? Let's actually put this here as a constant. That's going to confuse me for sure, 100%. All right, just have the name there. Beautiful. And I'm doing this because I'm actually I have this set up to run in both editor and standalone mode. Mostly because it's easier to test in standalone mode, right? Because if you crash your editor, it's a pain. But if you crash just like your standalone binary, who cares? Because Godot actually spawns a new process to do that, which is nice. So known flow is a known flow. And then known flows, this will be UUID to code known flow, something like that. And then everything else is just done by UUID. So you see, so we'll have the graph, and I'm pretty sure you can connect. There's a signal that you can connect to on graphs. That's called, or not even just graphs, but yeah, child enter tree. Yeah, so here you'll have your graph edit. Well, maybe we don't even want to give it the graph edit. I can just give it the entire. Yeah. Okay. So flow, this will be some sort of control node, I guess. It doesn't matter what specifically it is. So register flow ourself, we are the flow. Here. Bar flow, some sort of control. No. Func and I've also gotten more into the habit of explicitly just putting null here, as opposed to, like, you can do this, right? Just flow var flow is a control, and then it's assumed to be null, but I don't know. I feel like it's easier for me to parse visually. Then we'll have some sort of flow control. This, not this, sorry. Self flow is equal to this flow. But wait, why did I generate a UUID here? I don't remember. There's our flow. Oh, it's because our known flow is associated by its own UUID. Yes. And that's how we can differentiate between each new flow, because you get multiple new flows open at the same time. Same way that you can have multiple empty scenes. Oh. Okay, now you can have multiple empty scenes like this, yes. In a similar way that you can do this in Godot and just have multiple garbage empty scenes with nothing in them. That's right. So known flow. I guess we don't need to actually cache it like that. We can just do known flows. GD flow util UUID is equal to this. And we'll just give it back the UUID. We'll give back the UUID. Oh, that's why I had it separate. That's right. Oh yeah. Turns out I do actually do things for a reason. Who would have guessed? So known flows, etc., etc. You have your flow, and then here we can actually connect. So self flow. What was it called? Child enter tree. And then children only ever enter trees in graph edits when you add a new graph thingy. Yeah, like this, add to workspace, and then this just workspace add child. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, maybe this needs to be like that, workspace. It needs to be public so we can access it. Oh, sorry. Child enter tree. Or does child enter tree, is it child enter tree only for direct children? Emitted when a child node enters the scene tree, either because it entered on its own or because this node entered with it. This signal is emitted after the node's own notification entered tree and tree entered. I'm assuming this is for direct children, not indirects. So if you have a child of a child that's entering the tree, that's a bit different. So that's why I'm going to do this. Connect. And then this gives you, oh, my eyes. Node. Okay, func. So I'm pretty sure I can do this. So flow node. Editor flow node, like that. So it's technically wrong, but it'll always be an editor flow node entering the tree here. So it's a bit scary, but it, you know, whatever. Only graph nodes or only editor flow nodes should ever be entering the tree anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But here we keep track of the flow. And then also we keep track of var, I guess, known nodes, which is also a dictionary. So when a new node enters the tree, I guess I can just check, right? We can just see if this is a editor function node. So if not node is editor function node, then we don't really care. And then there's other ones, right? So you can also have, okay, let's do this. If not this, if not node is editor function node, or, sorry, not node is editor, oh, hold on. That does mean I need to create the rest of the various model stuff. So, editor comment, we don't care about well, okay, fine. We do care about comments, but those are very low priority. Not node is editor comment node. Oh, raw nodes are also very important. Not node is editor raw node, or, so there's var and constant. And I feel like I could probably just bundle those together. No, let's not bundle those together. Editor var node. Editor flow node. Oh, sorry, editor flow node. I think something that's really nice about streaming is that it helps me with my enunciation. I think if I was not streaming, if I never streamed at all, I think my accent would just become extraordinarily lazy. I was going to say extraordinarily degenerate, but that's not what I mean. There's nothing degenerate about having a little slur. A little, you know, non-standard, you know. But I've also noticed that whenever I'm giving presentations, I tend to get more questions when I enunciate more. And questions might usually be bad, but in my line of work, it means that the client is engaged. Which is sometimes good, sometimes bad. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that they keep paying me, so I'll keep doing it. All right, so class name editor const node. Beautiful. And do this. Oh, rearrange them by accident. Now I'm very confused. If not, node is const node, or yeah, so if it's any of the nodes that we actually care about, right? Because there's other nodes that we can add. So in the editor function node, there's all these other inner nodes, right? Well, these are not inner nodes, right? These are added directly to the node, but then you can have an if node, a while node, etc., attached to your function node, right? Oh, wait, hold on. No, that's right. That's right. Because these extend editor flow node. These don't extend editor function node. So that's actually different. Okay. Good job, me. I've accidentally planned for this. You gotta love it. So known nodes, or I guess known root nodes. Known root nodes, that's important. Because var nodes, consts, function, raw nodes, and comment nodes are all root nodes. Yeah. So known root nodes. So gd flow. Excuse me, util. Can I get code completion, please? UUID. Oh, but then I need to assign it to the thingy. So var UUID, because if I don't have the UUID, then I have no way to trace it back. I keep forgetting that you need to do that. Of course you need to do that. What are you, some sort of brainlet? So editor flow node needs to know about the UUID. There is our UUID. Actually, we can just grab the UUID from the editor flow node. And then everything has their own UUID. Okay, so I don't even need to generate one. Turns out I'm a huge idiot. Maybe... All right, hold on. I made a huge mistake now. Now I'm realizing I've made the classic collision detection mistake. Which is like who the collision detection mistake is who detects collisions. Does the right? So like if you're shooting a bullet, does the bullet detect collisions or does the target detect collisions? You don't want to detect both at once, otherwise you'll collide twice, which you don't want. So does the editor manager generate UUIDs, or does each node generate its own UUID? I think each node should generate its own UUID. Thought about that. UUID should exist if the object exists, but I don't really need to know about every single UUID. I only care about the serializable UUIDs, because otherwise, right, in this instance where you have, just pretend like this is a connected node, right? If these ever disconnects, well yeah, if these, just pretend like this is like an if statement node, right? So if this ever disconnects, then the if statement is no longer valid. And so when we are parsing, we'll just ignore it, right? Because it's not connected, so we don't care. We only look for root nodes. Well, I want to track relevant root nodes. Any in between node we don't really care about, right? Because you can never have a floating if statement. So that's why I'm saying like it's really simple. I just need to figure out how to organize it. You know? All right, so we grab your UUID, and then also this flow will also have its own UUID, right? So edit flow will just have a edit flow will just have its own generated UUID. I cannot give it a class name though, because I am replacing the script at runtime, which means it goes away. Or Godot will be very angry at me if I do that. So flow UI. So we can just assume that it exists. So void attract relevant nodes. Yeah. Wait, what the heck? Wait, hold on. What is this? Adidas? 20% off for staying at level 2? How? What did I do? Or is it... Oh, it's because my running app is linked to Adidas. All right, think about it. If a node is a constant, but a function node is a variable in a sense, different types. What do you mean? If a node is a constant, but function node is variable in a sense, different types. What do you mean? Yeah, I don't really understand. If nodes, yeah, an if node is a different type, but it cannot exist by itself. A while node cannot exist by itself, right? I'm with you. Right? Like these are the only nodes that it can exist by themselves. So we only care about those. Everything else, yeah, it can exist. Everything else, all of these listed here can exist. So var, const, func, pretty much everything that can that can exist at the root level in Godot. I haven't implemented these yet, but those can also exist. So what I was thinking was when we are saving it, you can put it there and not connect. So you mean like basically like here, right? So if these are not connected to anything, like there's no end function, then it's not connected. I think, or at least what I was thinking in my head was that we'll still save the states, but it'll be a compilation error, basically. But if and while nodes, if you just have those by themselves, those will also be compilation errors and we just won't track them, I guess. Yeah, it should just be a compilation error, basically. Because we just look for these nodes when we're parsing. So if we find the start node, we parse that. And then we can kind of subtract from all those nodes, right? Because something that's really cool about these graph edits, right, is that everything is just a child. It's a flat hierarchy, which is really, really cool, right? So we can just run through every single child, mark which ones we've actually processed, and then if there's any nodes that are left, then that means it's a compilation error. Or I guess it's a comment. If it's a comment, it's not a compilation error. But we should expect every single node to be processed. If there's a node that's not processed, then it's a compilation error. Does that make sense? right? And then if, and you know, again, we're only looking for these 6 nodes. It should be 7 nodes actually, because we need a class name node. Or I guess an extends, an extends node, and then you can also add a class name to that. Well, I was thinking that you may want to use a case where you run the code, then swap a few nodes, then run again. You know what? That makes sense. Maybe. What do you mean swap a few nodes? I think initially that made sense, but I started thinking about it more. I was like, wait a minute. Huh? The unused nodes, but not connected to main flow. Well, there is no main flow, by the way. It's not possible to have a main flow in Godot. Which is why this is more feasible than it sounds. What do you mean? What do you mean swap? When would you swap a node? Do you mean like this is essentially what I'm thinking about, right? So you would have to have, you would always need to end like an end func. It's very close to how Ruby works, right? So end func. Or I guess I could also do like an implicit end. Think about generating some data. You want to make a template to create data, yeah. Create data, and then you swap out a node so you generate another data. Yeah, yeah, okay. So instead of, say, like my func here. So what you're saying is you don't, right now we have my func. But sometimes maybe I want to test out a different function, say, func. Other func. So sometimes I'll want to swap that in. It's a visual shade. Well, I mean, it's okay. I think these are. I think if we're swapping out functions, it will work as expected, right? Because you can just have a standalone function that doesn't do anything, right? That makes sense. So say if I swap this out, so everything in green is no longer used. We're only just using, you know, other func at the bottom. I think that makes sense. But if we're swapping out the internals, so if I say like, oh, I don't want to do this if condition. I only want the one if condition. So what would you do? Well, I guess it just won't be. Yeah, it just won't be processed, I guess. Yeah. Like I feel like it doesn't matter, right? So it just won't be processed. I think that's just what will happen. So if you're like, I don't want to have this bottom condition, right? So if this is an if statement, and I say, oh, I don't want to have this bottom condition. I only want to have this. I only want to have the top condition. That's fine. This is not a compile error, I guess. Maybe what I'll do is every root node needs to have a corresponding end node, right? Everything else is just garbage, right? So if I were to just have like a weird hanging if, it's not connected to anything, you know, if. And as long as that if, well, no, that's fine, yeah. As if the if is not connected to anything, that's fine. Then we just ignore it. It can just hang out. Yeah. Okay, yeah. However, if you do have an if statement and it is connected, or it is, Yeah, and if you have an if statement and it is connected to a function like this, then it must be terminated like this as well. And that will be a compile error if it doesn't exist. Yeah. And then you can just have standalone functions that aren't used anyway. That's also fine. But your standalone function must be terminated like this. So this bottom function is not valid because it's not terminated. It's just kind of hanging. So I don't like the strictness of node compile. Well, see, the problem is I need this to work with GD scripts. Like, that's the biggest limitation, is that this needs to work with GD script again. It needs to compile down the GD script, and I don't see another way of doing it without having explicit, like, you know, right? We're splitting up, but then we also need to come back. we need to have some sort of condition, and it's okay if we just bail out early, but we always need to. One path needs to make it to the end of the function. Like the straightness of node compiling, so you want input and output, so ignore everything that isn't connected. Yeah, pretty much. Well, ignore everything that isn't connected to a root node. I think that makes sense. Don't give those errors or ignore completely. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so I think intermediate nodes, if you just have those hanging out, you can have those if you want. They won't be a compilation error, but if you, say, put this if node here, but then don't properly terminate it, then that will be a compilation error. Yeah. The syntax is really, the more I think about it, the syntax is pretty close to Ruby or Lua or maybe Bash. Yeah, you must explicitly terminate, but then if you just have like a random node that's floating, that's not connected to a root node. So I guess the important distinction is you have intermediate nodes, so everything in between here. So these are all intermediate nodes. These are all intermediate. While this func is a root node, and then root nodes must always be terminated. But then some intermediate nodes must also be terminated, because otherwise I don't know what to do with them. Yeah. Pipes? Oh, I don't know how I would pipe. How would you pipe in GD script? I think that's the tough part. Oh, I'm super overtime, by the way. So I'm going to call it here. But I think I have a better idea what to do now. Yeah. That was a good rubber ducking session. Maybe not super productive, but I think I have a. Oh, did you see that? What the heck was that? What the heck? What the heck? Wait, but these should be tool nodes. Am I leaking memory? Or these should not be tool nodes, so they should not be updating in real time. Oh, I updated my plugin. I updated the plugin, and then the plugin exists. Oh no. Because the plugin has to be a tool node. All right, I see. So I am leaking memory, by the way. I try not to mess with the plugin as much as possible. Which is why a bunch of other things broke, I think. All right, git add all. Be careful with swappiness. I do not worry about swappiness in the least. I'm sorry. Yeah, let's commit. So like add UUID generation start on scene parsing, or I guess flow parsing. Yeah, I don't know. If you're interested in looking at this, you probably aren't, but maybe you are. I don't know. Let me see. Do I have... Where is it? If you're interested, here it is. My PC freeze unless I fix the leak. I don't really have anything for you there, unfortunately. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. I'll be live Thursday from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern time, working on something again. Probably this, but it might be VPupper, depending on how I'm feeling. Anyways, there's a Discord, there's a GitHub somewhere. I still need to update my bot. My bot is still kind of broken, so because it's not sending messages even though it should be. But yeah. Oh. Thursday, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern time. Give me stars. Goodbye.